the Open Hearts Book Club. I'm your co-host, Sadi.
And I'm your co-host, Steph. And today we're talking about A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall, which is our book of the month.
Yippee!
But before we get into the book, we wanted to talk a little bit about sort of how this podcast got started and what to expect from the podcast itself. So every month we'll be picking a book and we'll be doing a podcast review like this video today for that book. And we invite all of our listeners to read along that book with us. And you can either just decide to read it on your own, listen to the podcast episode, but we also do have a Discord if you would like to discuss it with us as you read as well. And in order to access that Discord, you can sign up for our Patreon completely free. Just got to have a Patreon account in order to get the link to the Discord. So no worries about money there if you want to come in and chit chat with us. But other than that, we also do an additional episode a month that will be something romance related. So it might be, you know, us reading an additional romance book or talking about some romance movie, et cetera, et cetera. And then if you really can't get enough of us, you can pay for a tier within our Patreon, and we'll do an additional Patreon episode a month as well.
About like a year and a half ago, or a couple years ago, I believe, actually, Steph and I kind of wanted to start our own in-person romance novel book club. I was having a hard time enjoying a lot of recommended romances and romantasy. That wasn't really my primary genre, though I love romance in my novels. So rather than being judgmental about it, I thought, well, why don't we get curious? Why don't I invite my friends, some of which read a lot of romance, some of which who haven't really dabbled in it. Let's get together. Each of us will pick a book that we think would be kind of a fun one to indulge in and just see everything that this genre has to offer. And so that's been going on for a couple of years now, and we thought, why not open it up to everybody? So while this is a podcast, it is primarily a book club. We really love that you guys want to read the book alongside of us. And that's kind of why we have this format of having a book every month and then having this Discord specifically so that you can chat with us. And so, yeah, that's kind of where the ethos of this came from. And I really love that. Like, even if you're not the most prominent romance reader, I genuinely think that there is something for everybody, and that's what we're trying to find out here.
Yeah. And I mean, for myself as well, just like us chatting with our friends and having our friends pick books as well have led me to read books that I probably would have never picked up on my own. So
no, there's been some wild stuff in this book club, and there will continue to be. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And now you're along the ride with us.
Hell yeah. So yeah, let's get into it. The way that we're going to structure this podcast, especially our review one specifically, we start off with a summary. If you haven't read the book yet, this is a great chance for you to hear about what this book is about. If it interests you, maybe take a pause and go read the book and then come back. After that, we're going to do our initial thoughts, rated out of 5.
Yep.
And then we do a full, spoiler included, in-depth plot analysis. We talk about our opinions on what was going on, themes, overall thoughts, and that if you haven't read the book and you really want to, we recommend just pausing this podcast and coming back.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the majority of how it's going to go. So we're going to start off with a quick summary of the novel. Our protagonist is Viola. She's a trans woman. This is a Regency era romance novel. She previously, before coming out, was best friends with his Lord Grace Justin de Vere Gracewood, right? Yeah, thank you. Lord Gracewood. Duke Gracewood? Duke Gracewood. Sorry, the titles are just so... Yeah. There's like a million names for everybody. So Duke Gracewood, they went to war. Viola was presumed dead, and she realized that that was her chance to be able to live the life that she wants to live as Viola Carroll. Thank you so much. So she goes back home. She lives with her sister-in-law and her brother, and 2 years have passed since then. She finds out that her previous best friend is actually doing really, really poorly because specifically of her death. He, believes that she's dead. And based on a letter written by his younger sister, Viola and her sister-in-law both decide to go visit, I forget what the manor is called. Morganclad. And romance ensues from there. It's sort of a best friends to lovers story, hidden pasts type of conversation to be had. And so if you're interested in those types of tropes, I highly recommend this novel. But yeah, we're going to kind of get into our thoughts after this.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a really good summary, but that's the beginning of it. That's what happens.
That is what happens.
Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah.
What did you think about the book?
For me, this book was about maybe like a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, agreed.
I enjoyed the novel.
Yeah.
I thought the romance between Viola and Justin, really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed their chemistry. Their history was really beautiful together. The secondary characters are very colorful. My biggest qualm and why I took like a star off of this, and probably the majority of my complaints with this novel, is the fact that it seems as though the author had a second story that they wanted to tell.
Yeah.
Alexis Hall really cares about this secondary subplot, and in service of that subplot, specifically a character that I don't care about. I'll bleep that out. I'm sorry. We spend a good half of this novel focused on someone completely irrelevant to these two.
Yeah.
And that kind of drained me and also just made me a lot more critical then of the actual characters themselves.
No, I agree. I rated it like as a 4 out of 5 as well. But like I think for me too is just like there's so many secondary characters, and it felt like the only reason they existed was to move along the main couple in some way, whether it was like this person needs a friend, or like we need a reason that they're gonna like, you know, have this forced proximity with one another.
God,
Beyond that, we'll get into that, but yeah, I really was like, I get it, there's only so much book that you can, you know, focus on these secondary characters, but I really felt like there was not a lot of substance to any of these characters outside of like how they served our main couple, which is like part of the reason why I docked a point off of it. But yeah, honestly, like the romance between Viola and Grace Wood was like, I was sold. Like there's yearning in this book. It's like, and again, we can get into this, they're like I think it could be considered as an insta romance, but it didn't bother me because of their shared history together. Like it made sense why they were drawn to one another. And like, again, like I feel like there's such an emphasis on there being spice in romance books today. Nothing wrong with that. This book had its you know, its spicy scenes. But it didn't feel like it came at the cost of like the emotional connection that the characters shared together. Like there was not as much, like there was emphasis on their physical connection, but it didn't feel like, you know, their courtship of one another came out of nowhere or like didn't make sense. And I really appreciate that because I think that happens a lot in a lot of romance books.
No, for sure. This is a good thing. The saving grace of this novel is their relationship.
Yeah.
For a romance book, that should be it. Yeah, exactly. It's like that's the reason that you're signing up for this. So like that was spectacular in this novel.
Yes.
I do want to give the caveat: we are two cis women.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about trans identity issues and transness in this novel, just gender identity in general. So I just wanted to give that caveat of like, we're never talking from a place of knowledge, and we're not saying this is the end all be all what a trans, experience should look like.
Yeah.
A lot of our opinions were informed by our friends who are trans, who read this novel alongside of us. And so some of the stuff we say might be specific to maybe their experiences, but never are we talking from a place of
yeah. And if there's like any disagreement with some of the takes that we have, we invite you to like have that discussion as well.
Editing Saudi here. Just letting you know that for the next 30 minutes, my microphone specifically is going to be a little bit wonky. That's because my mic turned off, then on, then back off. So around the 50-minute mark, everything should be fine, and apologies for the inconvenience. Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
This is a long novel too, let me tell you.
We're gonna be
thick book.
We're gonna be yapping for a minute.
Oh boy.
Before we get into it, like just another heads up that this is in fact where we're going to get into spoilers. We're going to dig really deep into the plot of this book. So once again, just a warning, if you don't want any spoilers, stop the podcast at this point. We start off our book with Louise, also known as Lady Marley.
Oh my god.
And Viola chatting with one another. And Viola is Lady Marley's lady's companion. And Lady Marley has received a letter from Lady Miranda de Vere, who is Justin de Vere's sister. Justin de Vere is Viola's childhood friend.
Yeah.
So just to give some context on how these characters are connected to one another. Lady Marley is recounting this letter that she received from Lady Miranda. And in this interaction of her sort of talking about this letter and chatting with Viola, we learn a lot specifically about Viola. The first thing is obviously that we know that she is trans, and she was thought to have died at Waterloo. So she ended up like, they thought she was a casualty of war. Obviously she was not. She like came to, and at this point she finds out that they have just presumed her dead. And so she uses this opportunity to begin to live as her authentic self. And after, she's recovered enough, she returns to Lady Marley, who is her sister-in-law, and her brother, Badger, who is Viscount Marley.
Well, we can get into Badger later. There's a better time to talk about him.
She returns to Lady Marley, her sister-in-law, and Badger, Viscount Marley, her brother. and basically kind of throws them at their will of like, I'm alive, this is who I am, like, help. And they do. Like, they end up being like, okay, you can work as, Louise's, or like more so pose as, Louise's lady's companion so that you can stay at your home and that you have, employment and you're looked after and taken care of by people.
Yeah.
And she's basically been hiding away with Lady Marley in their country home in Devon since returning from the war. And a lot of it is her being like, well, I'm, learning, proper etiquette for a lady and like what it means to be a lady's companion.
Doing my needlework.
And things of that nature. But it's also like, we can obviously see that she's very anxious she'll be recognized by, the people that she used to socialize with. So this has been like her time to like...
Which fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So we learn a lot of that. But at this point, Louise is very much so like, okay, we need to go to Morganclad. And Viola's like, we absolutely cannot go to Morganclad.
Well, the letter, it's even though what I believe, like what, I hate her. What's her name?
Miranda.
Thank you. What Miranda is describing, it's like, if you read between the lines, it does seem as though something is up, some things are going poorly.
Yes, and that's why, like, Lady Marley wants to go there. Like, she is worried about Lady Miranda's welfare because in the letter, Lady Miranda, kind of mentions that her brother, Duke of Gracewood, Justin, is struggling, specifically with laudanum, which is opium, and alcohol. So obviously, Lady Marley is like, okay, you're 17 years old. I want to make sure you're okay. But the other part of it is she's 17 years old. It's time for her to debut. And so she wants to, hopefully go there, check in on her, and be able to bring her back to London where she can debut and kind of like find a husband and get on with her life.
Right.
So those are her motivations for wanting to go there.
A little context too, I believe, and maybe we find this out later in the book, but Miranda stayed with them when Gracewood and Viola were at war.
Yes.
So like she's sort of a pseudo sister daughter to them.
Yeah.
And that's why, Lady Marley is so protective of her.
Yes.
If you're not familiar with Regency era romances, a huge part of them is debuting in London. Back in this time period, I believe it's like 1812 to 1820, maybe?
Yeah, I think, we start off the book and it's 1817 is the year that they're in, but yes.
Perfect. But during that time, essentially, you would have members of the House of Lords, I believe is what it's called, and they would have a country home, and then they would have a home in London. And the idea being, during the off season, they get to spend time with their family in their country home. But then when Parliament starts, when they actually have to go and speak at the House and do all of their businesses in London, they would take their families and come back to London. And so at the time, it's like, what do the wives and daughters and children of these families do? Well, they throw big parties. And you know what? Why not introduce my daughter to eligible bachelors? So it's this whole big deal. If you've been living under a rock, you haven't seen Bridgerton and you're not familiar with this, so this is helpful to you. But if you've seen Bridgerton, that's essentially what this is.
Yeah.
That happens within like 3 months during the summer, and the rest of the time they're in their country home.
Yep.
So because Lady Marley is already married, Viola is just a lady's like maid, basically.
Yeah.
They don't have to ever go back to London.
Yeah.
Unless Badger does.
Yep.
Because he has his work there.
His duties, yes. Yes.
Yep,
so
yep.
that is like her motivations for wanting to go to Morganclad. And Viola is obviously very against going to Morganclad because, again, she has a lot of anxiety about, people recognizing her. And obviously, if anyone were to recognize her, her best friend would likely be the one to recognize her. So she's very much like, we shouldn't. But lo and behold, they do. They do go to Morganclad. And on the way there, like, Viola continues to be incredibly nervous about, what if he recognizes me? But I also, like, there's a part of her that is sort of like, what if he doesn't recognize me?
Yeah, exactly.
We have all this shared history, but obviously it's complicated because most of our shared history was when I was not living as the person I actually am. And obviously that is a very complicated spot to be in as well.
Which so juicy. I remember we had talked about this before, but this novel does such a good job of posing complicated predicaments.
Yes, absolutely.
So many romance novels want to give you like a simple answer to a very simple problem. And that's part of the frustration where you're like, this isn't an issue, so why are you fighting about this?
Right.
Whereas this one, it makes complete sense of like, she both doesn't want him to recognize her because, oh my God, she's been hiding from him for 2 years. But also, She does.
Yeah,
She
absolutely.
does.
Yeah, obviously.
Such a good conundrum.
There's a part of her that is like, yeah, I want someone to see me for the person I actually am finally. And like,
Yeah.
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
They get to Morganclad. It is way worse than they could have ever expected it to be.
What a show.
They roll up to this like just gothic, huge castle manor in like the countryside, and there's no one there to receive them. And they're like knocking on the door, knocking on the door, knocking on the door. No one's coming. And then finally, like a servant shows up, like bleary-eyed, candle, like in his like night clothes, obviously not anticipating anyone.
Sprucing it up.
Yeah, exactly. And Viola recognizes the servant and is like, that's not the servant that should be opening the door. So like immediately they can kind of like intuit that like staff has left. Like there's gaps in the staff here.
Oh yeah.
And they get in. Lady Marley right away is like, where's my tea? Where's my room? Where's the Duke? Bring him here. Let's go. And the servant is like noticeably uncomfortable when she mentions like going and getting the Duke, and he's very much so like he is not available, and we find out why. Duke of Gracewood at the top of the stairs, obviously under the influence of laudanum, potentially, and alcohol, one or the other, both likely, and is like shouting at them and calling them ghosts, and then he shoots at them. So we can see why the servant was potentially nervous about this.
It's so good because I was not expecting that.
Oh my god.
I was like, what?
Heart open to Morganclad. But yeah, so everything's fine. Viola's like, you know, instincts kick in, like they fall to the ground. Obviously it's mentioned too that he was like not a good shot because he's like goofed up right now as well. So
they say, I believe Viola is like, well, I think he tried to shoot us. I don't think
he shot
at us. He didn't shoot us exactly.
Yeah.
Great, you know, differentiation there.
Yes.
Thanks.
So a little rattled after this, but Viola decides to go after him and is a little bit more comfortable with it just because, like, you know, he is obviously under the influence of things. So like her worries about him recognizing her are obviously like a little dull because it's like he's not in his right mind, but also it's just like he's not in his right mind. She's very concerned about this. So I think it's also like that is sort of taking precedent over her anxieties as well. So she goes and finds him and is, you know, sitting with him and chatting with him and like getting very like physically close and such with him. And like, again, he is like, you know, he doesn't recognize her and is like, they're talking and he's just like, she's like, yeah, I'm really here. Like he keeps kind of insisting.
Ghost.
Yeah. Why are you hunting me?
Which in this moment, my first instinct was, oh, he recognizes her. Like some part of his soul recognizes her.
Right. Because he mentions later on that he keeps seeing the ghost of his dead friend.
Right.
But she's like, nope, not a ghost. And he has this like semi-lucid moment of like, no, you have to be a ghost because if you're not, that means I shot at people and I'm not that much of an animal. And she's like, well. But yeah, so obviously in this interaction,
she says, I shot people, and then she goes, well, you shot
at people. Oh, it's fine. But yes, obviously in this interaction we see he is very much so like not doing well, and it is directly related to the death of his friend. Obviously a gut punch for Viola to find out. He delivers this absolutely devastating line, and I just a warning that obviously he's using the incorrect pronouns here, right. So just be warned of that. But he says, I knew him better than my own soul. He may well have been my soul for what little I am worth without him. So obviously very attached to his friend. Okay, so beyond him obviously like dealing and grappling with the death of his friend, he's also not been able to move past Waterloo. And he's feeling like just really, really deep remorseful guilt over having like killed people, to the point where, you know, he, after the war, was like looking for his friend through all of these other, you know, dead bodies and whatnot, and recognizing like, I killed these people and these people are a friend to someone else. And like, I am having a hard time dealing with that. And like, beyond that, it's also like, he has expressed that like there are times where he is like, he feels like he is back in battle, and more than just feels like he's back in battle, like he is seeing the battlefield, he is hearing the gunfire, he is smelling it, he's like all of his senses are immersed in it. Obviously we know in modern day that this is PTSD. Right. They don't have like that for it at this point, But that's what we learned that he is dealing with. And then the last thing that we learn is that his leg has become irreparably damaged post his time at Waterloo, and he now relies on a cane to have to get around. So that has been. He's got like the implication was that he obviously like got shot in his leg, and I think it was
Yeah, you're right.
it was shot in like I don't remember exactly how, because he has like a burn as well along his leg. So like got hit, and I think made it worse by the fact that he was like wandering around looking for his friend, even having been injured.
Yeah,
so
instead of going to see a medic and like being able to fix it immediately then and there, he spent that time trying to look for Viola.
Because then they had to like really like they had to like he when we later on kind of see his leg, or he talks about his leg, they had to like cut a part of his leg away to like get the bullet out. So he's like very, very badly scarred along like a good portion of his leg.
And that's how we got the laudanum prescription.
Yes. The pain for that, and also just like he was like, again, just like filled with this guilt, and I think just having issues like sleeping and whatever else. So they're just like, just take this and you'll be fine. Hey, they're loosey goosey. Obviously, all of this is very hard for Viola to take in, because she can no longer deny the impact of her, like, you know, dying has had on her friend. Like, she had talked a little bit earlier about how she was like, well, you know, like how men are, like, he'll be upset, he'll mourn me for a bit, but then like he'll get on with his life and he'll get a wife and he'll be fine. And then we get Lady Miranda's letter, and she's like, well, she's 17 and she's fanciful. I'm sure she's like embellishing. And now she's very much so like, oh no, if anything, she was like underplaying what was happening here. Yeah. So that's very like difficult to grapple with. But at the same time, it's like, even seeing all of this, she can't say that she regrets her choice. And this is again where I think it's like this very nuanced conflict where it's like, she's not wrong for having done what she has done, but she can't ignore the fact that her decision has damaged other people as well. And it makes complete sense that she doesn't regret her choice for doing that, but it does put her in a very difficult position, you know. And fast forward a bit, they like end their talk. She's taking all this in. She's going back to her room. They're having banter during this very difficult conversation. He just
shot at them, and then he's like, am I being haunted by ghosts? And then they go, hey,
yeah.
We're just chit-chatting.
You didn't shoot me. You just shot at me. You're a bad shot, actually. It's like ribbing him about being a bad shot.
And he's like playful with her by the end of it.
Yes.
Which is where that insta-love comes in. Where normally that would piss me off. Like, where is this chemistry coming from out of nowhere?
Right.
You are doped up, dude.
Yeah.
But because they have this tether already.
Yeah.
Having her knowing how to talk to him and him being like, that's a comforting way to be talked at.
Right.
Makes total sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. So she goes back to her room. She's obviously having trouble sleeping. So she decides to go up to this tower that her and Grace would go to a lot as children, and kind of just like look out at the sea, look out at the sky, take some time up there. 'Cause she's like, I just feel too restless like staying in bed. And as she's up there later on, Gracewood appears up there as well. And this is like this is one of their more lighthearted interactions with one another, where like he gets up there and he starts sort of, you know, yes, he is sobered up. He's more cognizant now. He starts like recounting old, like just like stories about him and his childhood friend in a way of like, yeah, him and I like had come up here together, and like we had all these little games that we would play, things like that. He apologizes for shooting at her. Good job. And the one thing that he does, like the one serious note in their conversation, is that he does express this like remorse he feels for like bringing his friend to war, basically. Like he very much so is like, the death of my friend is on me. Like, this is my fault because I'm the one who signed up for the war and he just followed my whim. And if I had never done that, then he would still be alive. And again, very difficult information for Viola to take in, considering she's like, I'm not good. They banter during the previous conversation, but they like fully flirt in this conversation. Like there's a point where he like holds her hand and she's very taken by that. Like she's very much so like, it didn't make me feel fragile exactly, but it made me feel very feminine. It made me feel very beautiful in like the tender way that he was like holding my hand. Like she's starting to experience what he is like when he is talking to, you know, a woman. And like there's a certain point where like they're wrapping up this conversation and he's starting to go down the stairs and he's like, hey, I struggle going down the stairs because of my leg. I really don't want you to see that. I'm going to get a head start. She's like, okay, you're requesting this of me. So I'll like, you know, abide by that. You go ahead. But then they're like kind of calling to each other down this staircase as he's descending and like goofing around. And she starts laughing and he like is like, no, like don't laugh because if you're laughing, that means you're smiling. And I don't have the energy to like come back up the stairs to see it. So like they're very like, it's flirting now for sure. And again, like this interaction is very difficult for Viola because it brings up this guilt of like, you know, now finding out not only is he not grappling with the death well, he blames himself for, right, you know, her death as well. But it also is like very pleasurable for her because again, this is like the first time that he has treated her like a woman and just the first time that like really anyone outside of, you know, her sister-in-law and her brother are treating her like a woman. Like she's been hiding away for a long time. So this is and like
her annoying her first nephew.
yeah, little Bartholomew.
There's a little kid out there.
We'll talk about him. We'll talk about him. So yes, and this like duality of like guilt and pleasure in interacting with Gracewood comes up a lot for Viola.
Internal conflict to have.
Yeah.
And that part I also really enjoyed Viola. There are moments where I get annoyed with her because of that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fine for a character to have. I'm allowed to be annoyed with the character even if I like them.
Yeah, totally.
And so, but initially this perfectly makes sense of like, I like that he is treating me in this way. I like being flirted with. I don't like that he's miserable.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So this interaction wraps up and we kind of fast forward to breakfast where it is Gracewood, Viola, and Lady Marley at the table having breakfast. And we meet our favorite character, Lady Miranda. Before she comes in, they're sort of discussing like he's apologizing to Lady Marley, obviously for his behavior, as he should. And just kind of being like, you know, I don't remember inviting anyone here, like, quite candidly. And she's like, well, you didn't. Lady Miranda invited me. And then Viola's like, well, that's not entirely true either.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's like, well, why would she invite you here? And they get into it finally where Lady Marley is like, I'm here to take Miranda to London to debut. And he's like, what are you talking about? He gets upset because he's like, my sister is my responsibility, not yours. She's never mentioned, you know, wanting to go to London to debut. She doesn't explicitly say anything about that in her letter. And in fact, I'm now finding out that in this letter, she didn't even invite you here either. So like, what are you doing here? Enter Lady Miranda.
Oh my God.
and we can talk about obviously the like discourse around, you know, the term manic pixie dream girl.
But she is.
But she is.
Sorry, I don't mean to shout.
She is. Like, she comes in and it, like immediately what we see about her is like she's described as being just like ethereally beautiful, like these beautiful blue eyes and blonde hair, just gorgeous, gorgeous girl. But she's dressed in this like old outfit from the attic.
They're like, because well, she's been like stuck in this creepy little castle for years, so they don't have any new clothes. And like a normal human being, she doesn't think like, well, maybe I should go out or like ask my brother for new clothes. Instead, she's rummaging in this attic, scurrying around, wearing like different pieces of different outfits. She's already Frankenstein, which becomes a thing in this book, let me tell you. But she starts off that way, and she comes down, and Kai, I have a bone to pick with you. The audiobook narrator for this. Because I remember we were talking about this. You said when she shows up, you're imagining that she's talking really, really fast.
Yes,
because
fast.
She's a manic pixie dream girl. A big part of her character is that she doesn't know when to shut the hell up. So she just says what's on her mind.
Yeah, I'm imagining she's just word vomiting constantly, like beep, 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 beep. And that's why she's like always saying something that is like not maybe
appropriate. Yeah. No, and for the audiobook, she talks like this, and I wonder, it's if it only, and I couldn't do it. I had to listen to her part specifically on like 2x speed. I'm like, get to it, come on. Wrap it up. So
maybe that's also why I read it so fast. I'm just like, maybe it wasn't actually that she was talking fast and was just like, I'm just trying to get through this like useless dialogue right
Let's
now.
rush through this. But
Because for example, like during this interaction, she's just like, oh, I love your gloves to Viola. And like, I guess quick pause. Viola has like, adorned a lot of her clothes with her own like needlework of like just different like florals and like sort of nature motifs. And like, it's been something that has been like pointed out about her clothing about being like very, very beautiful. And like Lady Miranda right away sees it as just like, oh my gosh, I love that. Did you do it yourself? And like starts talking about like basically insinuating like, oh, are you poor?
Well, doesn't even insinuate. She's like, did you do it yourself? Oh my God, that's so incredible. If you're crafty, but maybe you did it because you're poor. And if you're poor and that's why you did it, that's still fine, I guess. But like, it's also fine to be poor. Like,
yeah.
Good
and
God.
Like, yeah. So it's that, and then she like goes into like, I'm really bad at needlepoint. Every time that I try to do it, it ends up looking like a penis. I'm like, girl, what are you trying to make that it always looks like a penis?
Where is this?
What's happening?
Oh my God. Okay, what are you trying to make, first of all?
You.
So
And
but then she's like, I don't know what a penis actually looks like, though. I've looked at farm animals.
Yeah, I looked at a dog.
I looked at dog penises before, and I guess it looks like that. Which I have a dog. I am not staring at his dinger all the time. And quite frankly, I'm not bringing it up in polite company. So I don't understand. Like, the author was like, how do I write quirky girl character?
Yeah, and I mean,
I'll talk about dog dick.
I guess we achieved that. It was also too like she comes in the room and
so cute.
Like Lady Marley's like right away like, oh yeah, like we were just talking about you, and she's like, oh, my ears weren't burning. Aren't my ears supposed to be burning when someone's talking about me? I'm like, shut up right now.
I wanted to box her in the head. Are they burning now, or are they ringing?
Yeah, like come on. But so this is
I just want to explain the reason why that is so annoying to us. Is it's this, to me especially, the whole like manic pixie dream girl, especially in TV and movies, is to interject personality through social faux pas.
Yeah.
She doesn't get any true personality traits. She has a little bit of depth later in this that the author is like doesn't want to really dive into. Like, she has mommy issues.
Oh yeah.
But like, instead of giving her like a real fleshed out personality or persona or depth, it's just, I am a weird girl and I say crazy weird things.
Yeah.
Haha.
Yeah. And going along with the manic pixie dream girl like stereotype, it's like, but she's beautiful, so she can get away with it. And in this case, she also has a like big title, so she can get away with it.
Oh yeah, a huge dowry. She's hot, she's rich, and she's annoying.
Yeah.
And it's okay for her to be annoying.
Not like other girls.
She's not like other girls.
So
she's God.
Worse. No. Well. But she finally sits down and they start going back to the topic at hand, which is, her potentially going to London and debuting. And when they bring this up, she fully shuts it down. She's like, no, I don't want that. I don't want to go to London. Much to Gracewood's satisfaction of like, see, I know my sister. I know what she wants. Later on, we see her and Viola and Lady Marley go on like a walk through the gardens, and they sort of bring up this topic again. And it comes out that she does want to go to London and debut, if only to just be around other people.
Yeah.
But she doesn't feel comfortable leaving her brother here alone, given his condition.
Honestly fair.
Very fair. Very, very fair.
But I'll say her brother sucks to her specifically.
Yes.
We get a lot more of this. I'm not just saying, oh, he's a shitty brother. He's a shitty brother.
He's a shitty brother. Yeah.
And she must love him dearly, because if that was me, I'd go, take me.
Yeah,
take me, leave him here. If something happens to him, sucks, but get me out of here. Yeah.
So hearing this though, Lady Marley it feels like very vindicated of like, I knew she wanted to, and she starts to hatch this plan basically where Viola is going to try to like make Gracewood better essentially, or like try to help him improve just enough at least so that, Lady Miranda feels comfortable leaving him to go to London to debut.
Yeah.
And she's very adamant about this because like once again, she wants her to find a husband and to like basically be able to start a life of her own. And Viola was like, kind of like, oh, does she have to? And it's like, listen, like, better like to go from one castle to a castle that you have chosen, at least, like you get to make, a choice in the matter. Also,
she's showing up in some freak clothing. Get her to human beings, please. Get her out of there.
But yeah, so.
And like the reason that Viola is the one in charge of Gracewood's habilitation is because they've already had this banter. Lady Marley's like, look, like he clearly can talk to you properly.
Yeah, Lady Marley's
so if
like,
it's gonna be anybody, it's gonna be you.
If I could do this myself, I would do it. But we've already seen Miranda try to do this for the last 2 years, and she's been completely unsuccessful.
Right.
And like you being here for like a day has already like, you know, resulted in him coming down sober to breakfast and dining with other people. Yes. So like you should be the one to do it. Mm-hmm. Viola's obviously horrified by this and is very much so like, it's very difficult to be around him. He keeps talking about me and like as, you know, my inauthentic self, and he thinks I'm dead, and I just like, it's really difficult for me to do this.
How hard to have to hear your dead name constantly. Granted, like it's not a what's the name, like not a surname but a just name, I guess.
I think it's a surname, right?
Surname is like your last name.
Yeah.
What's
Marley?
Oh, first name. Yeah. Sorry, I was gonna say, so he's not referring to her by her like dead first name.
Yeah.
He's referring to her by like her title.
Yes.
So like Lady Marley, so he keeps saying like Marley in general is what he keeps saying.
Yes.
That's his title. Like how he's referred to as Gracewood, but his name is actually Justin DeVere.
Yes.
But still, like really hard to want to keep hearing her be dead named.
Yeah.
And then two, constantly hearing about herself in past tense using pronouns that do not accurately reflect her. Like that sucks.
Yes, absolutely. But Viola kind of ends up cracking because obviously there is some part of herself that wants to see him get better.
And she likes him.
And she likes him. She likes being around him.
She doesn't want to admit it
yet. But she basically agrees of like, I'll try this for a week, and no matter the outcome, we're leaving in a week. Mm-hmm. And Lady Marley's like, cool, let's do that. Meanwhile, we can see that Gracewood is like continuing to fall for Viola. And once again, like the insta romance of it all is there, but there are like how do I phrase this? There's history. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he is not aware that there's history there because he doesn't obviously like is seeing Viola and not his friend. Mm-hmm. But he does kind of mention a few times that she feels familiar. So there does seem to be like some level of recognition, if not like that is my friend in the way that it's like the traits that I enjoyed about my friend, I see in this woman. And I think that is part of like why she feels familiar.
Like we haven't talked about this yet, but like in thinking about it afterwards, sometimes you meet somebody and you go, oh, I just like them. And then later you go, oh, they remind me of so-and-so. And that's why I got along with them so quickly.
Exactly.
Or I've gotten that on the receiving end of like, you remind me of my mom. And I'm like, okay, mom must be sick.
Cool, you got a cool mom.
So it does make sense to me of like, you might not realize it in that moment, but there are certain traits or mannerisms that you would just sort of normally drawn to.
Absolutely.
And so whether or not he recognizes them in her, it does make sense that he's immediately like comfortable with her.
Absolutely. Beyond that too, I think it's like a good thing to note of like, he hasn't really been around people either since coming back from the war. Like he's pretty much like closed himself up in this manner, like out in the wilds, and like has just been in this like, you know, laudanum alcohol induced haze. So it's like for him, he is very much so like, I thought like, you know, me courting someone or like these romantic feelings were like something that were closed off to me. And now like the just even bantering with someone again, it's like making that a reality for him as well.
For him.
Yeah, exactly. In the same, like not in the same way, but in a similar way that it feels fresh and fun for Viola being able to be like on that receiving end as a woman. So I think that's also why I'm like okay with it, because it's like it makes sense that you would feel like enamored with someone, especially when you've seen no one in 2 years outside of, you know, your staff and Miranda. At this point in the book too, we start to get that clearer picture of who his father was as well. He's abusive. He's very cold. He's very like misogynistic. He's very like authoritarian. There's like a point where Gracewood is like remembering like as a child, he asked a servant for something and his dad like beat him because he's like, you're like, you know, yes, exactly. Like act like your title. Let's go. And Gracewood very much recognizes that his father is not a good person or a good father. And like, that is what led him to try to rebel. And like, you know, he tried to be like sexually promiscuous, kind of like rakish to rebel. He tried signing up for the war to rebel.
He's done some fun stuff on the side.
But he is like admitting to having some difficulty in forgetting his upbringing, right? Like where his dad very much so raised him of like, don't show emotion, be this type of way, you're a man. And like in his like relationship specifically with Miranda, we see this difficulty a lot. But that is something that he is kind of like, I've tried to rebel, but like there is like a part of me that can see that I'm having difficulties in forgetting this sort of grooming. So Viola finds him in his study, and like, yeah, they start talking a little bit about that. And then they also talk, like he is fully talking aloud with her about his father and like saying how he passed when he was 17. And, once again, like we're getting a better insight as to like how Gracewood has viewed his father, where he's like, the biggest feeling I felt when he died was relief, honestly. So like, again, just like a big inside window into his feelings about his father. And then he talks about Frith, who was his butler, who died when he was in the war. And how like, he recognizes that like the house needs another Frith, but it's been really difficult for him to replace Frith because he really valued him and almost saw him like family. And here's where so we have this perfect character to be like, this is why I don't really feel like I am not looking at different stations as much. This is why I care about the common person, because I really cared about Frith, and Frith showed me like this way. No, it's just, I honestly am kind of unclear why we bring up Frith at all at this point.
I thought Frith was important to be like, because I thought Gracewood was going to have an inner conflict of like realizing that he was in love with his best friend and not wanting to then replace Viola with that.
Sure, yes.
Yeah. It's like, the love in my heart, will that go away if I replace another person with that? Mm-hmm. So in this, he's saying, like, I had such a hard time replacing Frith because he was so important to me and I don't want somebody to take that place.
Right.
And Viola is the one to be like, well, that's not how love works. Like,
right.
You can still have really cared about him and also make room for another. Mm-hmm. Which is a great, then, tie-in if he's like, you know what? I can accept that my friend died. I can accept that I did love them. Mm-hmm. And now I might love another, and that's okay.
Right.
Because then finding out that Viola was actually your friend the whole time, one, devastating. To be like, oh, great, you're alive, but also, what the hell? But then two, it's like, I went through so much internal turmoil that you weren't privy to.
Yeah.
But I went through this because I was in love with you. Mm-hmm. And to find out that I didn't actually have to go
through any of that, yeah.
What a great thing. But Frith was just there to be like, I liked somebody outside of myself.
Yep. Or like, yeah, I liked someone who like was not like in the same like class as me.
Which is hilarious given how little class comes up in this.
So little.
Even though it's more than her trans identity, I feel like the class issue is kind of the big contention here.
That's what I wanted to point out as well. So like there's like discussion questions at the back of the copy of my book that I have for A Lady for a Duke. And in that, like the author had stated like, I really didn't want like Viola's transness to be the main conflict of the book. Okay. But like instead, and she's constantly internally worried about her transness, which like makes sense. It doesn't mean that like this needs to materialize in the real world to like validate right, to validate those fears. However, it's like instead, like if that is your goal, then like the main conflict could have just been their difference in station of like Gracewood is a duke and she is a lady's companion, and like it still ties into her transness because like she would have maintained a title and wealth had she not transitioned.
Like Lord or Viscount or something.
Viscount, yeah.
Viscount. That would have been her title.
Yes, had she not, and then like that could be like the main conflict. But it's like we don't do that at all. Like there's like little questioning as to like why, like when even like, I mean, they don't publicly really go around with one another a lot, but it's like still, even when like people do run into them, they're like, don't bat an eye.
Well, you're a spinster.
Yeah, and you're you're not able-bodied anymore, so
yeah, so whatever.
Yeah, you guys do whatever.
No, but truly, this was just like, I can be friends with a poor person, and that's why I find
that's why I'm good.
Kindness of common man, because this is then followed by, and I'm sure to talk about this, like him having neglected his duties. If you don't know what a duke or even a prince or a viscount does, they're just glorified landlords.
Yeah.
The queen or the king gave them land, and then all the farmers and people who live on that land pay rent to him every season or every whatever or so.
Yeah.
And then with that rent, he does what he pleases. So sometimes it's like dictating what kind of props they do. Like to be a good duke, to be a good viscount, to be a good landlord. Again, different definition than modern times, but basically they're just in charge of that region, that like dukedom, whatever it might be, principality. And he hasn't been doing that.
Him doing dick.
And he doesn't care until now, because that's why we have Kurt to be like, I actually do care about poor people, and I'm gonna do my job.
And I'm gonna do my job.
And that didn't endear me. I was like, you weren't doing it for 2 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay,
Cool.
whatever.
Congratulations. The bare minimum. Woohoo!
Good job. A hot girl shows up and you're like,
oh shit. I gotta get my life together.
Good
Fuck. Yeah. So yeah, they start talking about this. She lightens the mood. He's sort of acknowledging, oh, this is really nice. It's been a long time since I've had like, conversation with someone in this way, obviously. And then it starts to fall apart once they start to talk about the war again. Because obviously Viola becomes really overwhelmed with guilt once again and runs off crying.
Yes.
And finds Lady Marley and is immediately like, this is too hard. I can't do this. And she starts to touch on the fact that she's like at once happy and frustrated that he's treating her in this different way, because they had a friendship for a very long time and she had an inkling about a lot of these things that he was struggling with, of like, she knew that obviously his dad was not a good person, things like that, but he hadn't ever really like opened up in the way that he has been with her right now. And she's like, do men do this with all women? And it's like, yes, sweetheart, yes they do. Yep, welcome. She starts talking about like, obviously like it's felt really difficult for her because she feels like she is trapped between her past self and who she is currently. And then she finally like speaks it aloud for the first time, of like, they talk about, well, did you have feelings for Gracewood before you transitioned into your authentic self? Yeah. And she is sort of like, I think maybe I did, but I was just so focused on like untangling myself and figuring out who I am that like that was like not top of mind for me. Yeah. But it does seem like she is realizing that she has feelings for him now. So Lady Marley hears all of this, and she tells Viola like, I didn't recognize how like deep this was. Like that was insensitive of me. If you want to leave, you can leave. And Viola is now once again sort of trapped between doing what she wants and doing what she feels she should do, and is very like, emotionally racked by this. But she does ultimately decide that she probably should leave. So we fast forward to, the next morning. She's basically just waiting for like the soonest light that she can leave by. She's about to leave, and then she hears the smash of a bottle from Gracewood's study, and she's like, okay, and goes to find him. And at first she like goes in and she sees him like slumped over, and she's like, oh my gosh. And then he's like, he's fine, he's cognizant, whatever. And this is where they sort of start to talk about his laudanum usage for the first time, where, he is clearly going through like withdrawal symptoms right now. Again, didn't really have this word for it, but he like brings this book in from London to like talk more about laudanum. And it basically is just like, he talks about like, yeah, it's, prescribed to me to like make me feel better. And every time I tell them about, these symptoms I have when I don't take it, they just go, well, then if you're feeling that way, just continue to take it and take more of it if you need. They're talking about this. They're like flirting and bantering a little bit more. And then she ends up sort of like breaking down, because he's like, well, hey, like, why, like, I see you're leaving. Why are you leaving? He like spins this whole yarn about like, I bet you have a man waiting for you, don't you? And
I was like, are you sure you're not on laudanum? Like, what the hell are you talking about? Because he's like, oh, I bet there's some guy back home and he's like a hot farmer and you want to be with him.
Yeah, and you gotta leave for him.
Yeah. It's like, what?
What the hell are you talking about? Yeah. And she ends up being like her flirting back is just like, that's not the kind of man I would want. I would want someone more like you. And like, he's like, so why are you leaving then? And she ends up being like caught between this, like, I can't tell him the full truth, but I want to tell him some part of the truth. So she ends up revealing to him like Lady Marley's plan of like, she was going to, be with him for, this week of time and try to like make him feel better so that they could eventually take Miranda to go debut. And he right away is like, you guys don't get it. Miranda doesn't want to go to London.
She wants to stay here in my dusty castle, and I haven't spoken to her since you guys got here.
Yeah. And Viola's like, listen, like, you don't understand the mind of a 17-year-old girl. She does want to go. And he's just like, okay, fine. Like, if that's what we're doing, why don't you and I, like, do like, why don't we actually work on this? Fine, like make me better. And it'll be like our thing that we're working on together rather than like Lady Marley's plan that has been put into action. Yeah. And with that like kind of change about it, she feels a little bit better about like, okay, like he's in the know now, we can do this, what have you. Yeah. They move back to sort of talking about how they're going to improve Gracewood. And like Viola makes this like sort of half joking comment of like, well, Lady Marley really hates your beard. And he's just like, yeah, like I know I'm due for a shave. But I like don't have like that. I don't have a butler right now. So like I'm kind of like out of luck. And she's like, well, I know how to shave a man's face. And like her knowing how to ride astride and knowing how to do this, she has chalked up to like, my father was like, you know, incontinent is, I can't remember the word.
Incontinent is like you can't poop, right?
I thought it was constipated. I don't know. Anyway, he was like, he needed help. He needed help. So she stepped up to the plate.
My dad really couldn't use that as a result.
I can't remember the word. I can't remember the word. Infirm. Infirm.
What the hell? I know. Okay. Yeah,
anyway, he was infirm. So she's like, I learned how to shave because he was infirm before he passed, and like he's the one who taught me to ride, like you know, astride and whatnot. So she's like, I could shave your face for you if you wanted to, and so they decide to do that.
I love this scene.
It's the best.
It's so good.
And this is like, I think it's so like, again, it's like there's a reason that she knows this, and like it really makes for a very like sweet, like specific moment for them to share. And it's like there's no like, this is not a sexual scene, but there's so much tension. Like it just like him talking about like the whisper of her fingers on his face and like how close she is and like
smelling
yes, exactly. And this is the first time that Viola has taken off her gloves around him. Like her gloves or her hands and her throat have like been brought up several times at this point as like sort of like points of or things she's self-conscious about.
Yeah.
And so she's like always like, even if she's like not fully done up, she usually makes sure like if she thinks she's gonna run into someone, she's got her gloves on, she's got a choker on.
Yeah.
So like this is sort of like a moment of vulnerability for Viola as well, for taking off her gloves to shave his face. And obviously a moment of vulnerability for him with how like physically close they are to one another.
I think, and I'm not coming for you if you love the like dagger at your throat thing, but I think what is actually sexy about that is the close intimacy. We are not actually doinking. We are doing something a lot more like, you know, subtle touches and things like that. And so moments like this, where like, in a story, somebody's like braiding another person's hair, or like wiping away like an eyelash on their cheek, like that feels so much more like tense and sexual.
Yeah.
Than just, and I pushed her against a wall and I started making out with her.
Yeah.
This to me is more like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
It's that building of the tension. It's those sweet little sexual moments that I think is way more attractive.
Yes.
Build up to a really much later.
Yes.
So, like this was good.
Yeah. Agreed.
Justice.
Agreed.
And how unique.
Beautiful.
Shaving.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I was like, for a trans romance, this is like perfect. Is like a very unique experience that I feel like fits this so well, and is just like, again, yeah, it just makes you like, I was like screaming and kicking my feet reading this scene. I was like, ah, it's so cute.
Little Women when Timothy Chalamet is doing up the corset performance.
Yes.
Like those moments are just so.
Yes.
Hey guys, we had to take a quick pause because my microphone had turned off. So if the sound quality of that first half for me specifically was bad, I apologize. And if for those of you who went, oh shit, she's better now, suck it. But yeah, they were just shaving.
They're shaving. He asked Viola like, "Hey, do you want to like walk to the beach with me?" And she's like, "Sure, let's do that. I'm gonna take a romantic beach walk with you."
Yeah, it's just to clear my head. Which you know that beach is just a rock beach. It's gray and sad.
Yeah, well, it's like they keep talking about like just everything being like cloudy, gray.
Yeah, it sucks out there.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's one thing I'm like, wow, the mood is gonna be harsh because we're about to get some fun confrontation. But also it's England.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Uh-huh.
Sorry to the British.
I'm not.
Yeah, that's for you guys.
They end up chatting, lo and behold, about his deceased friend once again. But the tone
Marley
of this,
loved rocks.
love this speech.
I'm gonna love this speech.
But the tone changes with this conversation because, you know, he starts kind of talking about like, you know, feeling like he's sort of a disappointment based off of like what he saw in the town and whatnot. And she's like, or like, you know, feels like he is disappointing, you know, his deceased friend in some way. And she once again is like, I'm sure he wouldn't want you to think this way about yourself. And he is like, what do you think about me though? Like, this is the first time where in this conversation where he's brought up his deceased friend, he is fully going like, I actually don't care what he would have thought. I want to know what you think.
Yeah.
And that he starts really openly flirting in this conversation. And there's like a point where she had mentioned like, you know, like he was, I think, talking about some other thing that had happened to him and like talking about feeling like just unlikable. And she had said, I like you. And he like brings this back up. And he's like, you said you like me, but like I actually like you. Like, and I really want to kiss you. And she's like stunned.
It's steamy.
Yeah, very steamy. And and it's building from here. Like him asking to kiss her is just like the first stone in the brick wall.
Yeah.
Like he like immediately she obviously begins warring with herself about what she wants to do, or just kiss him, and what she feels like she should do, not kiss him. The tension during this scene is incredible. It's like this slow inch forward for both of them.
Yeah.
And like, again, it's like this inner turmoil for her of like really not wanting to like pull away and almost like bargaining with herself of like, maybe it'd be fine if we just kissed the one time. Like maybe I could be selfish just this once.
I'll kiss him once and then I'll leave.
And then it'll be fine. It'll like, she's like trying to like find a way to like explain away like how can I make this work for myself? And he's like slowly getting closer. They're like very, very like, yeah. This is another scene that I was like screaming and kicking my feet because I was like, I love this.
Until.
And of course, right before they get anywhere though, he recognizes her.
Based on one of the most intimate features, her freckles.
Her freckles on her neck.
On her neck.
Most gut-wrenching scene in the entire book. Like Viola constantly has these fears in her head, and I feel like this is the one time where everything she feared actually came true.
No, yeah.
Because like immediately, like he starts like pushing her around and being like, oh my god, like
buddy,
yeah, my friend, like, are you like
terrible?
Are you playing a joke on me?
His first thought is like, you are my buddy, and this is like a sick prank you're pulling on me, but that's okay. And his tone changes. He's like, yes, we're bros now. We're talking like bros.
Yes.
Terrible.
And she says something along the lines of like, you know, this is worse than him getting angry with her. Of like the relief that washes over his face and the way that he starts treating her now is like worse than it could have ever been.
Yes.
And she just feel like the anguish that she feels during this like confrontation that they have is just so viscerally felt.
And he starts dead naming her too.
Yes. Yes. And she obviously like gets super angry at him. And she's just like, this is not a joke. This is who I am. You need to stop right now. And now it's like his relief has sort of like passed and he's starting to recognize what has happened. And he's like, well, like, if you're just gay, like there are houses for men like that. And she's like, no, I am not. I'm a woman. I'm Viola Carroll. I've always been Viola Carroll. Like, you need to stop. And then he starts to get angry.
Yeah.
And again, I think this conflict is very nuanced as well, because it's like, he's so upset because again, like he has been blaming himself for her death for the past 2 years. And here she was in front of him and she never bothered to tell him that this is who she was. And she is upset because she's like, I should not have to explain myself to you. Like, I have always been a woman, and that is something that like no one else has to explain about themselves. Why should I have to explain it to you? And like, why should I have to ask your forgiveness for this? Because there's nothing to forgive here.
Right. Because I think he implies he's like, well, you know, like I forgive you. And she's like, I don't want your forgiveness. And it's not even about, you know, her saying like, I need your acceptance. It's more he's the one who's going, why couldn't you just tell me? And she's like, well, I barely knew myself.
Yeah.
And like, your timeline does not matter in this equation.
Mm-hmm.
Your feelings at this moment did not supersede my own feelings and coming to terms with myself.
Right.
And then obviously, like when she did come out, it's more complicated than that. I think she tries to say that too, but for him, the anger, and I do appreciate this, isn't in her identity. And we did talk about this before, where it's the issue is not the identity, the issue is the lying.
Yeah, he feels betrayed by the fact that she has been alive.
He's like, we were friends. You could have always shared this information with me. I thought we were closer than that. You were alive and you let me think you died.
And like he does mention that specifically of like, yeah, at first it's like, why didn't you tell me before? And she's just like, I hardly knew myself. And he's like, cool, you came here now though. Why didn't you tell me? And like, I actually can't remember how she reacted to that. I think it was just sort of like, you know, how would you have me explain myself?
Right, exactly.
Like, why, what am I
the reaction you're having right now is the thing that I was worried would happen.
Exactly.
Look at you.
Or it's just, again, going back into the, like, this isn't something I should have to explain to you. This isn't something I should, like, have to, like, I think she says something along the line in response to that of, like, what would I have done? Like, showed myself before you and asked your forgiveness or asked your acceptance. Like, I don't need that.
Right.
So what exactly was I supposed to say?
Again, it's great because both people are right and both people are wrong. Right. Exactly. He's right to feel betrayed by that and like not have her confidence. But also at the same time, like she's in the right to not have to tell him all these things.
Yes, absolutely. And it's also just like, you know, like it is, he really does not have friends outside of her, like truly anyway. Yeah. So I think it's just that added layer of like, you were sort of like my strength and then you were gone and whatever. But it's just like, yeah, like Viola's anger is completely understandable because like she should not have to have someone else deem her worthy of existing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. Unsurprisingly, like this happens, Viola storms away, he stays on the beach, and she's like, we're leaving immediately right now. Like she comes in like sobbing, where like Lady Marley hears her and finds her, and they have, you know, she's recounting this fight to Lady Marley and is like, we need to leave right now. And yeah, Lady Marley's like, yeah, of course we can leave at first sight. She's like, no, now. And it comes out that Lady Marley, like, while her concern was Miranda, there was a part of her that wanted to bring Viola here in hopes that he would recognize her.
She's a little schemer.
She loves to scheme and plot.
And characters are allowed to do bad things and not be the worst villain ever. Okay.
Yes.
So
her heart was in the right place. However, like Viola's like, this was not your call to make, which is very true and very fair. And obviously, like it went horribly, horribly wrong. So what are we doing?
Right. She had good intentions because she knew how hard it was for Viola to be away from this guy, and she probably can assume how hard it was for this guy to be away from Viola.
Yeah.
But it's not her place to make that decision. The outcome can still be good, but you did not have a right to do that. In this case, in this very specific moment, it did not work out the way that she wanted to. And I think Viola has every right to be angry with her.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't make Lady Marley the bad guy.
No, like the worst person in the world.
No.
Yeah. Again, intentions were good, but
yeah.
Anyway, they do decide to leave, but they are not going back to Devon. They're going to London for what you had mentioned earlier of like Badger has responsibilities in London that he needs to get back to. So they need to go back to London. So that's what they end up doing.
I think Badger's already there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why she's like, hey, he's been away longer than he honestly should have. We need to go there.
Yeah.
So that's where they're headed. Meanwhile, Gracewood is returning to the house. Has been like at this beach just sitting there for like hours, returns to the house and is like putting things away and whatever and like talking to the servant, and the servant is just like, yeah, and you know, Lady Marley and Viola Carroll have left, and this just absolutely messes him up, and he's like, you know, yeah, of course she left. He is miserable, and in his moment of weakness decides that he is going to take some laudanum. And like he immediately regrets it. So like he takes it the next morning, he's kind of coming to, and he has this moment of like, you know, I like thought it would be different because I was choosing to take it. It wasn't just like something that I Like,
Mm.
you know, he had been like taking it for so long, just like within habit and because he liked it. Whereas this moment he was just like, well, I haven't been taking it these last couple days, but like, you know, I'll just do this one bottle and it'll be fine that I just do like I take this, you know, one bottle and whatever. And he's like, nope, that was a mistake. That was not smart of me. I
Yeah.
shouldn't have done that. And he right away like realizes his mistake and he feels awful about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he like names specifically too. Like it's not just like this empty like, oh, I feel bad and like I feel apologetic to like make myself feel better. It's very much so that he like recognizes what he does wrong. Like he got angry when she was asking for understanding.
Yeah.
You know, he was really harping on the fact that he felt wronged and he felt betrayed. And he's just like, you know, I focus so much on my hurts, but like, what if her hurts? This is something she should have never have had to like explain or do to like her point. And I recognize that now.
Yeah.
And it's great in this moment because he did act really badly in that like confrontation. However, it feels unrealistically selfless
Oh yeah.
because he never returns to the fact that he's angry for the rest of the book. He's just over it.
His points, and like I think the author did this to one, make him like a really good boy. And then to like really, because you know, at the discussions questions, it said, I really didn't want her transness to be the conflict in the story.
Sure.
But that's at the disservice of his own internal
Yeah.
understanding. Like he doesn't even have a day to be even just remotely angry with her. And like I said before,
No.
it's not the transness, because it seems as though he's never met another trans person, because his first reaction was like, well, gay people exist. Like that's fine.
Right.
So it's not even him being like, I wonder what that means. Like, I get that she's a woman. This is like a little difficult for me to reconcile. And we don't have to empathize or really like make it a huge deal with people who don't understand transness, because whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the point of the story. But for his own internal world, to even if we could just see a glimpse of him coming to terms with, that was my friend, and now it's Viola. Because the way that this author really treats her transition is, Marley was a person.
Yep.
Marley died, and Viola is a person, and this is Viola.
Yep.
And no one says that explicitly, but that seems to be the way that everyone views everything.
Yeah.
So just even inviting us for a second for Gracewood to come to that decision of like, it seems as though like I was treating Viola like I was treating Marley, and that's not fair because she is her own person.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to approach her as, you know, her.
Yeah.
But it's immediately, he's like, I was the bad boy and I was the bad guy, and I feel bad and I will be nice to her.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like there are other opportunities for his anger to come up later in the book, and it still doesn't come up.
Still doesn't.
We'll get into that when that comes about. But we finish up Morganclad with Lady Miranda coming to his study and like finding him like he comes to in the morning. He has this realization, and then he basically is just described as he's like sitting there, and then all of a sudden it's nighttime, and he's like, oh my god. And so Lady Miranda finally finds him, and she's like obviously concerned because she sees him just like on the ground. She clocks the empty laudanum bottle and is like, yeah, you didn't come down for dinner, and I was just like really concerned and worried about you. And instead of him being like touched by this concern she has for him, he gets like angry.
He sucks. He's a terrible brother.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, rather than be touched by it, he just dismisses it as like, I'm your older brother. It's so foolish that you would be concerned with me. I'm like, your welfare is my responsibility, not the other way around. Like, you're so silly, whatever. Like, this is unnecessary and you're being dramatic. After he's been struggling with laudanum for 2 years.
Absolutely like, insane reaction to have after your own trip.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely wild thing. And it's, again, a weird choice for this author.
Yes.
To put in this book.
And very different from how he treats Viola.
Yes.
Like, again, it like, I know that this was not the intention, but it really makes it seem like the only women he values are the women that he has romantic feelings towards.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we also like later on talk about, there's like a Duchess Beatrice that he's friends with, and he takes her word for things, but he doesn't seem to like, because like Miranda is his like responsibility. He just never seems to treat her like a person.
No.
Like,
He definitely falls in the category of like great partner to Viola, misogynist in every other aspect of his life.
yes.
And it really comes out with his relationship with his sister, but it like throughout the story, there's so many moments where women in the story will tell him a stated fact, like this is the truth of what is going on in reality. And he goes, I don't want to listen to you, until Viola then shows up and is like, well, actually, here's what I think. And he goes, you know what? You're so right, babe.
Yeah.
And I'll listen to you. It's like these. One of the things I hate most about like the bad boy trope is the fact that if you remove the main girl, if you remove our little YN,
It just sucks.
he still sucks.
Yeah.
Like in Vampire Diaries, I forget. I think the brother's name is like Damon.
Yeah.
Maybe the bad boy brother.
Yeah.
But like that show does a great job because at one point, spoiler alert for the Vampire Diaries, the main girl, Elena, is like in a coma. And so she's sort of removed from the situation, but he is still good to her friends. He still treats the people in his life great. Like he grew and learned from their love.
Yeah.
And once she was gone, he wasn't a dick again.
Yeah.
Whereas with characters like this, and like I can't say for sure that if anything happened to Viola, he'd be a dick again.
Sure.
But in this moment, it really does read as he's only good to Viola. Everyone else gets his misogyny, his wrath, especially his little sister.
Especially his little sister. And we like the last part of it is him just basically like, we're going to London. Like there isn't any conversation of like, hey, I hear, you know, maybe you did actually want to go to London. Is that true? We can do that. It's just like, I have decided this is what's best for you. You're going to debut. We're going to go to London, and that's that. And she's obviously upset. She's like, okay, I guess. And she's going to leave. And like right before she leaves, he's like, and by the way, and she like has this like moment of like hoping clearly that he's gonna like, he doesn't say by the way, he's like, Miranda. And she's like, oh, maybe he's gonna like apologize or something. And instead he's just like, there's another bottle of laudanum in my bedroom. Can you tell a servant to like get rid of it? And she's like, okay.
Okay,
and that's how we end Morgan class.
And we're being really critical of that now because you would hope with a novel like this, that sort of relationship gets improved, you know, throughout the story. And by the end of it, we have like a whole character arc, and it doesn't. And that's why we're pointing it out so much now of like, if you're putting this in this story, I am then hoping that this relationship gets patched up. And there are like maybe examples of it getting better, but not in a way that to me is satisfying.
No.
And I do have a lot of sympathy for this character. That's what I mean. It's like, she is an annoying manic pixie dream girl, Regency era.
Yes.
But there are little moments of depth in her, but her story comes at the disservice of these two, and their story is at the disservice of her. So nobody gets a fully fleshed out anything.
Nope. We're in London now.
Yeah, we made it, dude. We did
it. We open up in London at the Marley's home, and it's Viola and little Bartholomew, which is, you know, Louise and Badger's son, her nephew.
Precocious kid.
He's, I don't know, talking shit about a rat or a mouse or something, and is like, I'm friends with him.
This mouse is my friend.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a weird little kid. Again, like, I'll touch on this a little bit later, but like Bartholomew especially feels like he exists to like bring out Viola's like maternal side.
We can talk about this now if we want, because the focus is the romance. We're trying to hit these points.
Yeah.
And so maybe the secondary and tertiary characters are not the most fleshed out, but a good novel does a good job of at least making you feel as though these other characters have their own internal worlds.
Yes.
You don't have to sit down and write down the story for every single one of them, but you have to at least make me believe that these are lived, real humans.
Yeah.
And Barty does not feel like that. Barty just feels like
no.
a kid who shows up talking about rats and pirates, and Viola's like, wow, look at that. The innocence of childhood. I mean, it's nice, the example of, you know, children are so open-minded and they have a better understanding of empathy and the willingness to like allow people to live the way that they want to live in a way that adults don't. But then at the same time, that's not challenged by any adult. Like nobody in the story really gives a shit that she's trans. No one in the story cares.
No.
Which is what the author wanted.
Yeah.
But then it's like a side tangent then to have Barty be here to be like, and I accept you. It's like, okay, thanks, kid.
It's like, okay, you and like 7 other characters.
7 other characters, yeah. Again, it's fine that her transness is not the focal point.
No, yeah. It's like, we don't want to read another trans trauma porn story, but it's, I think you made this point, and it's really stuck with me of like, it consistently gets brought up though, like in her internal world, in her internal monologue, where it's like usually when things get brought up to that extent, like something comes of it, and like something kind of came of it with like her conflict with Gracewood, but beyond that, not a thing. So it's like, I feel like this is just being hammered home of like she's making her own excuses of why they can't be together, and it's because of her transness in her mind, when it could have just been like, okay, well, if your transness is not supposed to be like the main conflict, why didn't we just make it their class is what's keeping them apart?
Right. Like we can still have a trans character whose transness isn't the focal point, but then match her like internal conflict to the reality of the world.
Yes, exactly. That's where it missed out. But anyway, they're having this conversation, and then Lady Marley comes by and she's like, hey, I gotta go doink my husband.
It's so everybody in this book is a cartoon. I'm telling you, how many friends do you know that's like, oh my god, you came over? Great. Like, I know that you're staying the night and everything, but like I need to go doink my boyfriend. So like, can you just like entertain my friend here?
Yes, yes.
And she says that she says sex.
Basically, yes. And to the point where,
and that's like, Viola's brother. We forget
brother.
He exists because they have no relationship to each other, which is a point of contention for me, and we'll talk about it.
But yeah,
it's weird.
She's like, hey, I forgot my friend Lady Lillimere is coming over, and but I need to go doink my husband. So can you go and entertain her instead? And then like
I'm quirky. I'm gonna tell people that I'm
makes the horrible joke of like, well, you can't doink my husband for me. So
what?
So you gotta entertain my friend instead.
Yeah, Viola's like, that's a weird thing to say.
And it is. And she's right.
Well, one of us has to doink him, and I can't be you.
And thank God.
Okay.
Thank God.
Oh boy.
So yeah, and like this is like meaningful for Viola because, you know, like we said, that when she came back from the war, she's basically been hidden away in Devon for the entire time. And then she had her one like instance at Morganclad. So again, she hasn't really like interacted with anyone from society. Yeah. So she's immediately like on edge of like, you're just gonna leave me alone with some random person I've never met and I'm supposed to entertain them when I like don't even like, I've hardly practiced like societal etiquette and whatnot. And Lady Marley was like, yeah, bye.
Have fun.
So, okay. Gus turns out, like I said, to be Lady Lillimere. And we find out she is widowed. She actually really seemed to like at least respect her husband that she was married to. But she is like content with her life as it is now. Of like, yeah, he died. He was great. But it's also like now she just gets to like kind of say and do whatever she wants. Like she's like, I'm not remarrying. I'm just gonna have this wealth and live exactly how I want to live.
A great time.
And we find out that, you know, she's got an appetite for the ladies. And
gay.
Yeah, yes, gay.
Gay.
One might say. So they're like kind of interacting and like, you know, Viola's really tense at first and then they eventually kind of get comfortable. Like Lady Lillimere's making jokes about like, you know, hey, you suck at pouring tea, but like it's kind of like funny and endearing. So I see why like, you know, Louise took on a lady's companion because like, you know, whatever. I like you.
Yeah. I see why she keeps you around. You're funny.
Yeah. So, you know, Viola gets her first sort of like, okay, like this isn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. Like we seem to be, you know, getting along for the most part. And then Lady Lillimere's like, hey, do you want to like, let's go for a ride in my carriage and like go through the park or whatever. And Viola's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. So
Lady Lillimere is using euphemisms. Viola, who has never been hit on besides this one weirdo in a castle, is like, we're going for a ride in the park?
Yeah,
okay,
like, cool.
Yeah, I could use some friends.
She's getting ready and like somehow Lady Marley like hears this and is like running down the stairs and is just like, that's my sister-in-law. You're not going to doink her in your carriage, actually.
And Viola's like, wait, what?
Yeah, like, huh? And like all this is happening, and then all of a sudden the servant's answering the door, and it's like it says something to the effect of like, "Oh, we haven't seen you here in a while." And then she hears Gracewood's voice, and Lady Lillimere is looking, and is like, "I'm out. Bye. This seems like something, and I'm out of here." And then Lady Marley's like, "Does that mean we gotta leave too?" We as in her and Badger, because he's also kind of come out of the room at this point.
They're like in their robes, because remember they were toinking.
Yes. So they like, you know, go away. We find that they're just like kind of listening in from elsewhere.
These cartoon characters, by the way.
Right. Viola, obviously very unhappy that Gracewood is
She's
here.
still mad at him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so she kind of starts immediately to try to walk away. And he's please just hear me out for a second. Immediately apologizes for how things went down and speaks to the fact that he feels very remorseful for how he reacted and recognizes now that what he was asking for her was unreasonable of him and that she in fact does not have anything to apologize for. And he sees that now. And
it's a good apology.
Yes, it's a very good apology.
Yeah.
And he makes he admits to the fact that it's oh, I recognize that I have not seen you up until now. I understand what you were saying there. Because I think during their argument she had sort of brought up of you've never known me. And he really got upset about that.
He's what are you talking about? I know you.
So he's kind of coming to the fact of I see what you mean by you saying that of I've never known the real you, but I want to get to know the real you now.
Yeah.
And she apologizes as well for not telling him sooner. And he's just you're fine, whatever. They seem to be, mending things, but now they need to figure out how they're going to act around each other, right? Because right away he's I want us, I have romantic feelings for you still. I want us to do this. And she's what are you talking about? You're a duke. I'm a lady's companion. And beyond the class thing for Viola, I think in her head, it's just again, he's been in his remote estate for these past 2 years. And she is also he just doesn't remember what it is to be in society anymore. He's going to get back out there. Other women are going to start showing him interest and he's going to forget all about me.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it for her too. So he's just at this point, he'll take anything from her.
He's down bad.
He's down bad. He's fine, if we can't, be romantic with one another, can we at least remain friends? And she's how many, single men and women, especially of our stations, are friends with one another?
Also, how many female friends do you have?
Exactly.
And he's none.
Yep. But, and it ends up just being sort of well, I'm friends with the Marleys though, and you are a part of the Marley household. So when I call on them, you can be there too, kind of thing. And this is sort of where we leave it. And at this point, it makes sense that she's the one that's a little bit more strict about these rules, because it's for him, he's a duke. He can get away with a lot.
Right.
Yeah, there might still be whispers about him and whatnot, but he's not going to face his reputation's not going to face anything. He's not going to face any real consequences of whatever relationship he may have with her, but she will.
For sure.
Reap some consequences.
And we also touch upon the fact, again, a little bit here, of Viola really just cutting out her past from her own history.
Yeah.
There's a moment in this, I don't know if you wrote it down or anything like that, where she goes into her old bedroom. She's just sort of reminiscing about this is where I used to be. And this would have been my room when I was here. And a maid comes in and is you're not supposed to be in here.
Yeah.
Get out, dude. This is for Viscount Badger or whatever.
Yeah.
And she doesn't think about that. She doesn't think about the fact that she's oh, this used to be mine. This would have been mine. And even in this too, we don't get a sense of, well, I was once a Viscount. I know the rules of propriety.
Yeah.
I would never have been able to get away with marrying someone below my station. So your delusion here is unacceptable and not fair to me or anything like that.
Anything like that.
Because again, the author really doesn't want to talk about Viola's past.
Right.
So we don't even have Viola even thinking about it. But I feel it informs so much of how their actual conflict, which is she's of a lower station. He is a duke. How are they going to be together?
Right.
He's expected to have heirs. They can't produce natural heirs.
Exactly.
These types of things, I feel could have been a lot more nuanced if there's any willingness to engage in that conversation.
I think one thing I get frustrated with for Viola in this moment is that she kind of keeps getting angry at him of you're assuming what I want, when he's we can be romantic together, or we can be friends. And she's you're just assuming that this is what I want. But she is also sort of assuming what he wants. And in the well, he'll get to society and meet other women and forget about me.
Right.
Or he doesn't want to be with a lady's companion. It's she is also doing the same thing to him and is somehow and she never has any moment of
checks in with herself on that. Yeah.
It's just he's being a dick to me right now. He's being unfair and I can't believe he's doing this. And it's you're also it's not the same, but you are making assumptions as well. And she never checks herself on that. So they're talking about this, and eventually they come back to Miranda of did she come with you? Whatever. And he's yeah,
she's somewhere.
She came with me. But like,
you guys are wrong though. She didn't want to come.
Yes, exactly. He's just like, she doesn't seem to want to come. And Viola has to do the most obvious thing and be like, did you ask her? And he goes, no. And that's kind of their, she's like, okay. And then he's like, anyway, she needs a chaperone. It's like, it's comically bad. It's so bad. Comically bad.
The trope of like, woman has to teach a man what empathy is. And that's majority of Viola's work here.
Yes.
Of like, so did you give your sister a choice in whether or not she was able to come here? Did you have a conversation with her? No, I decided it was the right thing to do. And so we made that decision. And now she's here. And you told me she wanted that. It's like, she did. Yeah. But there's a way you go about it that isn't you being a my guy.
When they first bring up like Lady Marley being like, you should fix Gracewood, I felt a little icky about that because I don't like the trope of like this woman heals this man.
You were saying.
I don't like that. And I thought like, okay, well, fine, I can forgive it. It's just like a week of whatever. No, the entire book, it is Viola being like, here, be better. Be better. Yeah. So he's like, well, you know, Miranda needs a chaperone. Viola, you want to be her chaperone? And I get why. We have to have some forced proximity because like how else are they, again, their stations are very different. How else are they going to interact? But to me, this decision made the least sense possible. Like Lady Marley would be the obvious decision to be Lady Miranda's chaperone.
Yeah.
Because one, like, already has spent time with Lady Marley. Lady Marley has debuted. Viola hasn't ever debuted, so she knows what goes into debuting and like what to do.
Yeah.
And again, it's like she has more of a relationship with Miranda, whereas like we know that like Viola has been around Miranda for a good part of her life, but like to Miranda, Viola's a stranger. So like, why did like this really did feel like a selfish decision on Gracewood's part to be like, Viola, you should be her chaperone. And Viola almost has like this moment of recognizing that, but not really. It's just mostly like, this is going to give me an opportunity to be closer to Gracewood, so I'm going to take it.
There's a second where she's like, I don't know if this is the best choice, but I get to be I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And my solution, if you hate when people talk about like fixes for stories, but I'm like, just have Miranda have her own ladies companion. And that would be a great way to see the difference between how women of like a lower class were treated, because Viola's experience is not ever going to be the same as an actual ladies companion's experience. Not just because she doesn't have the like knowledge, but because her family is still going to treat her as part of their family.
Yes.
And so in seeing like what that reality, how society would look at this person, like even just seeing her family treat this person so differently and then go, oh, like this really is a class issue.
And I feel like it could get back again, like getting back to like if the class issue was the main thing and Lady Miranda had a ladies companion, it could be the ladies companion kind of pointing out like the way you interact with Gracewood is weird.
Yes.
Like kind of improper. And that can be what Viola is constantly like anxious about, of like, now I'm being called out and someone is telling me that this is incorrect.
Right.
And I had this inkling that I was incorrect and now it's being confirmed to me. So I really need to like pull back because I want to like fit into society.
Or even just a character being like, oh, you're falling into like that trope of falling for the Duke. That's sweet of you. Don't worry. The next client will be different. Like, you know, anything to kind of push reality back into her head. And that is why she's having all of these like kind of freak outs.
Yeah.
Rather than just assuming.
Yep.
Yep.
They decide she's going to be her chaperone. And, you know, the next day she shows up at Gracewood's home in London. And, you know, she gets there. He's immediately making like another bid for her affection. She gets angry and she's like, this isn't fair. I'm here for Lady Miranda and like Lady Miranda only. And then, you know, he is like, okay, Miranda, like, here's your chaperone. And she's upset, understandably upset. Like, she doesn't want Viola to be her chaperone. She's kind of like, I want you, my brother, to sort of like help me debut into society. And then like, he is like, that's ridiculous. Like, I would that like, no, you need like a woman chaperone. Like,
this poorly socialized little girl does not at first. Because at first I was like, that's a stupid request. And then I go, oh, but they all did such a bad job of teaching her anything about the world that it makes sense that she's like, well, why can't you do it?
Right.
Because later we find out that she doesn't have an understanding of gender norms in the society. In modern times, great, cool, progressive character. And these times, though, the people around her have failed her.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like, well, I'm not a woman, so I can't do it. And it's like, okay, great.
Yeah.
So a stranger is going to help you out.
Exactly. And that's what she kind of says is just like, well, it doesn't feel fair that a stranger then is helping me out. And he's like, she's not a stranger. And
love
she's
her.
like, okay. And they start getting really, really heated. They start saying some like bad things to one another. And like Viola kind of steps in and is like, okay, like maybe let's not. And then like Lady Miranda storms away. And Viola's like, okay, I'm going to go like try to talk to her. And you know, she gets to her door and Lady Miranda's just like, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone, please stop, like go away. Eventually, like, you know, Miranda does finally let her in. She's still angry, but she like softens and is like, this isn't your fault. I'm sorry for like, you know, getting angry at you. And then she opens up about how she's felt lonely. And at first Viola's just like, oh yeah, you've been, you know, largely alone in your estate for the last 2 years. And she's like, it's been more than the last 2 years. I feel like I've always been alone in that estate because my brother always had, you know, Marley, his friend, and they never considered me. And my dad didn't care about me. So it was just me. And like, and that's it. And like literally goes on to say that, you know, she like fantasized about having her own Marley of like, I like thought about like, you know,
what if I had a friend?
my own, what if I had a friend? Which is really heartbreaking. Like, as much as I don't like Lady Miranda's character, I do feel very like sympathetic.
There are
her.
moments here where I'm like, if you were given a better treatment, not like the characters treated you better, just like an overall better treatment, I might have enjoyed this character more.
Yeah.
Because they're little nuggets. And like Viola too at this moment is like, oh my God, like I also did not pay attention to this little girl.
Yes, she feels guilty like immediately. And like she ends up being like, okay, you know what? Her brother knows the truth about me. I'm going to also tell her like, you know, who I am. And, you know, kind of is like, well, it is actually kind of my fault that you felt lonely those years because like, I'm your brother's childhood friend. Surprise. And like Miranda like is very much so like, oh yeah, I guess it is your fault then. Like just readily accepts this information.
Which I'm like, you get rid of Barty. You replace Miranda with the questions of like, so what does that mean for you? Or like, you still the same person? Or because Barty asked those types of questions, and Miranda could have served that same role, just given how precocious the two of them are.
I feel like it was almost just like this has to be a child so that the questions aren't offensive.
Yeah, which, you know? Which sucks because at least like there's some degree of curiosity. Like you can have conversations with your trans friends in a way that comes from a place of empathy and curiosity. Right. Like don't ask weird questions. Don't be a weirdo. But you're allowed to go like, okay, what does that mean for you? Like, what does that feeling look like? Like, when did this happen? Anything that would give us more internal world and also create a bond between the two of them.
Yes.
But Miranda is just so woke, which it's one of those things where I'm like, this feels a little anachronistic. Like I don't need her to be transphobic, but I do need her to be a little curious.
Yeah, because she is so curious otherwise.
In every other situation, she's saying the darndest things. But in this one situation, because the author knows that it would be maybe politically incorrect for Miranda to question anything. Therefore, she just goes, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Anyways, moving on to the next thing. And now they're best buds.
We begin Miranda's debut with a card party at the Marley's house. Lady Marley has set up this party, and it's sort of like a practice party for Lady Miranda of like, hey, we'll invite some other like, you know, ladies that are debuting. We'll invite some like eligible bachelors, but like non-threatening eligible bachelors of like, clearly these like probably wouldn't be like a match for you, but they're not going to be coming at you hard about like marrying you because they also have their own wealth, their own titles, things like that. So, you know, we just want to like kind of have you dip your toes into the social sphere.
And marrying Miranda would give you a huge dowry. She's like the sister of a duke. So when you marry her, you would get some amount of money or land or whatever. So yeah, and inviting people who are also already rich kind of puts down the need of like, well, you know, you don't need to marry for money. So
you already have
everything's good here.
So in enter, you know, like our debutantes and our bachelors. We meet Miss Avon and her little posse of Miss St. Clair and Miss Hanbury. And right away, like Viola clocks it that like Miss Avon is like kind of snaky. Like she is not outwardly mean, but she's taken little digs at Lady Miranda.
I do love that the way Viola clocks that Lady Avon is the mean girl of this group is because she has two uggos next to her.
She literally is just like, oh, she's like strategically surrounded herself to make herself look the best.
Which in a inadvertently being like, these other girls are like dogs. They're absolute dogs. Just like an insane implication there.
Yeah.
Because like we get it. Miranda's the most beautiful.
But Miss St. Clair's got a rack.
Viola maybe has a little bit of internalized misogyny. She's like, that girl's busty, so she's gonna be
ugly, but that girl got titties.
I am gonna be such a justice for Lady Avon person here.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into it, but
Yeah.
I have weirdly a lot of sympathy in my heart for the mean girl character in these stories because it always just comes from misogyny.
Yeah.
There are very few examples where I'm like, oh, this was like really good villainess because she was just like a shitty, cruel person.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's like, this person is just a product of misogyny and you are punishing them for having to exist within the rules that society has set up.
For acting how a lot of other people already act in society.
Yeah, like what else is this kid supposed to do? And we're about to see that
And
real
also she's
soon.
a teenager, so like, come on.
Yeah, but she's making like little jabs at Miranda, which again, the people around Miranda fail her because nobody explains like proper etiquette to her. Even if we don't see that, like we don't need a scene of them going to etiquette class, which would have been kind of cute. It would have been a way for Miranda and Viola to bond because Viola also hasn't done this. So they're both like being taught by Lady Marley. Like how cute of a scene that would have been. But you can clearly tell that nobody told her all about how to like comport yourself in any situation. Yeah. She acts like a buffoon.
She starts doing magic tricks.
She's like, you guys want to see a magic trick? Can I show you a magic trick?
She's like with this group of people and she just starts doing magic tricks. And like,
because Viola's like, everything's going really well. And she turns around, she's like, what's that crowd over there? And it's this girl being like,
guess a card, pick a card,
any card.
But like,
and they're like, how did you learn that? She's like, I read books in my lonely cat.
I was so lonely as a child. I learned sleight of hand magic, and it's coming in handy right now.
Yeah,
again,
incredible.
She's not like other.
She's not like other girls.
But it's like during all of this, like Miss Yvonne is clocking this, and it's just like making jabs at her of like, what the hell is going on? But like everyone's completely enamored with Miranda anyway, because she's hot and she's the like sister of a duke.
She's a quirky girl.
She can get away with this shit.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Like, I don't fault Miss Avon for being like angry about it. Of like, no one else could get away with this.
Here's my thought, and we'll get into this because Miss Avon has an interaction with Duke Gracewood that is so cruel to her.
Yes.
I'm like, why would an author put this scene in there? Because that made me go, you suck as a person, Duke Gracewood.
Yeah.
But in her eye, it's like, if your job as a lady is to marry wealthy, you come from a middle-class family, the only way you're going to secure a life for yourself is marrying a really, really wealthy guy, then you abide by a certain set of rules.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only reason that she acts this way or comports herself in this way is because that is the rules that she was taught. If I do X, Y, and Z, a man will want me. And here shows up a hot rich girl who is breaking all the rules, who's dressing like a clown, who's doing weird ass magic tricks that if any other girl in that room did, everyone would go,
ew.
Ugh.
Yeah.
How dare you? That's disgusting. You're learning common parlor tricks. But with this girl, it works. And if I'm in Lady Avon's shoes, I'm going, what the hell is going on here? Like, this isn't fair to me.
Yes, absolutely.
So her being kind of a mean girl about it
makes sense.
Is jealousy, envy, and just being set up in a system that you're not going to win in.
Yeah,
and it sucks. And they kind of address it a little bit later.
Lady Littlemere does.
Lady Littlemere does. But like, no one else has empathy for this little girl.
No.
In this moment, a girl behind you, a little girl behind you.
Yeah, she's a teenager.
Yeah, they're all 16 here. I think one of them's 18. They're all 18, whatever.
Miranda is 17.
17, that's what it is.
But yeah, they should be around 16, if not even maybe a little younger, because 17 is typically a little bit late to be debuting. So
that's true. But like an author cannot make me hate a character like this because that is not her fault at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But so Viola starts to kind of wander over because she's like, okay, this is like, it seems to be going well, but maybe I should keep like an eye on this. And as she wanders over, she sees Viscount Sterling there. And she's a little like, that is a weird invite because he is actually like probably a good eligible match for Miranda. And he is like clearly taken with Miranda and is just like, starts to kind of make a little bet with her of like, you should do this, like, she, I think, offers to do another magic trick or whatever, and I think it was another.
It's like she's like looks at him and she goes, I bet I can't, like I can, touch my hand or something.
It was like she
It was
was
some
like
weird
doing, I think, a card trick, and he was just like, someone had suggested like making a bet, and he was just like, oh, I'll bet you like so many
Yeah.
like whatever silver pieces that you don't guess my card or whatever. And then Miss St. Clair, I think, is the instigator, is just like, come on, you're a viscount, like
You could do better than
she's
that.
she's the sister of a duke, you don't need money. Like,
It's like a quirky little trick. Like I feel like she's like, I bet I can pick up something with this hand and not the other hand.
oh yes,
Yeah,
yes,
something
that's
like
exactly
that.
it.
And he goes,
And
okay, cool.
goes,
Like if you can
"Cool."
do that, I'll give you money. And somebody instigates it. And then
And
he's like,
you should do a kiss instead. And that's where Viola's just like, no. And she's like, how about a turnabout the room? And he's like, cool.
I'll take what I
And
can get. Yeah.
sure enough, she does the trick successfully. And he's like, well, can I still, like, bother to have a turnabout the room? And they go and do that. And, Viola is kind of looking around and she sees that, Miss Avon has wandered off to Gracewood. And she is not happy about this and is just like, I need a minute to take some air. It, like, she's fine, like Lady Marley's here, it's very contained, like everyone can keep eyes on each other, so I'm gonna step outside.
Yeah.
And we go over to Miss Avon in Gracewood.
This scene pisses me off.
Yeah, like she's obviously there trying to win him over because he's a duke, and like that is like the prize of the season. And it's like said multiple times that it's like really like the only way that you can do better is to like go after like the Prince Regent.
Yeah.
So like obviously like no one's paying attention to him. Miranda's doing her card tricks in the corner. So she's just like, let me go over to chat with him. And
which is what is expected of it. Okay.
Exactly. Nothing weird or strange about that at all.
But every character, like not every character, but because Viola and Gracewood, the other are POVs, they both seem to see this as like, what a snake.
Yeah.
What a conniving woman. It's like, no, she's just doing the things she's supposed
complete
to.
sense.
Complete sense.
And she like makes some comment about like, oh, like we're already like acquainted or whatever. Like we've met before and like, so nice to see you again and whatever. And like they're chit-chatting and he's just like, we haven't met before. Like, what are you talking about? And then, she says something like, she goes to say like a turn of phrase of just like.
She goes to say, let's not stand on ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take over for a second.
Please.
Because, and when she goes to say that, she hesitates and she goes, let's not act on ceremony. And this goes he crashes out on her. Like a full crash out on this young little girl because she's avoiding saying stand because he has like this leg condition. He cannot like physically stand with comfort.
Yes.
Right? He needs a cane or something with him.
Yes.
And in any other scenario, a girl like this would be taught, hey, some of these men go on weird power trips. They get really insecure. They get really uncomfortable when you bring up things that they don't want to hear. Mm-hmm. So what she's doing, I think, is kind of the polite thing to do, especially for like that time frame, right?
Well, it's not like outrageous that she's doing.
It's not outrageous, where she's like, a different person might have also crashed out at her if she used the word stand.
Right.
But she avoided that. And he's like, would you think I'm too insecure to hear that?
Yeah.
He goes, that's not the phrase. And she's like,
phrase.
I'm sorry, what? And he's like, that's not the phrase. Say the full phrase. Say the whole thing.
Yep.
She's like, uh-huh. And he's like, that the phrase is stand on ceremony. And you don't want to say that because you're afraid. You're going to treat me differently. And he does have a moment where he's like, I'm going a little too hard on this kid.
Yeah.
Want to sit down and have a conversation? And she seems like a little bit more relieved by that. But like that reaction was so unnecessary.
Yes. And we see at another moment earlier in the book, he like drops his cane and Viola goes to go pick it up for him. Yeah. And like he does kind of call her out of like, I didn't need you to help me. And she was just like, listen, like I'm not doing this out of pity. It's just that I was like in the best position to help you, so I helped you. And that kind of ends it. And he's like, oh, that makes sense. But in this instance, it was just like, again, it's just like he went like times 10 on his anger towards this girl.
Yeah.
And like had like shows some remorse for it, like recognizes like he's getting really like angry about this. And it's like, obviously this is like a point of like insecurity for him because he was previously able-bodied. But it's like, how is it that, again, Viola is allowed to get away with this kind of, or like at least with like a far less severe backlash.
Oh my God.
And like Miss Avon is not. So like, what is the difference there? Because you're attracted to one and not the other?
Would have been a great chance of like what the empathy that I've learned from Viola, I get to apply now. Like in that moment, he could have been like, my first reaction was to say something like, why wouldn't you use that phrase in front of me?
Right.
But like I remembered that Viola was only doing that out of kindness, and this young girl is probably doing this out of kindness.
Right.
I shouldn't be mad at her.
Yeah.
But yeah, he invites her to sit down and
they like chit chat, and then there's like something else that I was just like his like he like shifts uncomfortably or something, and she clocks it and she like winces and he gets mad again. And like not this time it's not like anger. He's just like, you don't want to marry me. Like you don't want to, like you're clearly uncomfortable by me.
Mhm.
So like what like we're not doing this. And I think gets up at this point and goes out to try to find Viola. And like she is like near tears.
This poor girl.
Like experience.
Yeah, he was really mean to her.
He was really mean to her. Yes. Again, and in a way that it's just like he was not mean to another character. So it's like, okay, like that's where like I think I have issue with it. Of like, if this is your response to everyone, fair enough. But we've seen that it's not.
It's not. And it really does feel like the author had already been like, well, this is the mean girl. So he's allowed to be mean to the mean girl, and that's it's justified. When the reality is, no, it's not.
Gracewood comes upon Viola as she is talking with her nephew and being like kind of spoiling him a little bit and like, you know, giving in to his whimsies and whatever. It's a moment for him to see how she looks with a child, and it's an opportunity for the like conversation about Gracewood needing an heir to come up. Again, and just another instance of like, this is a plot device for us to talk about this. So they start talking about like, you know, like Gracewood makes a comment of just like, yeah, if we were parents, I would be like the strict authoritarian and you would be the mother that like spoils them. And she gets angry because she's just like, that's like, you know, I'm biologically, like, even if we were able to be together, biologically, I'm unable to give you
natural
children.
heirs, yeah.
So what are we doing here? Like, why are you saying something like specifically that to me? And you know, she like there's give me a minute.
No, please take your time.
She basically is just like, I will not feel like a sacrifice or a compromise that you have to make, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's just like, that's not at all what it would be. And she's like, okay, tell me you don't want an heir right now. Like, tell me you never want children. And his, like, at first is like wanting to say that, but he hesitates and he's not able to like say, I'm okay with like not having children. And she's like, see, exactly. Like, you do want kids. So like, stop like doing this with me.
It's back to the assumption thing with her of like, she's making this assumption that he, as a duke, would want to have like natural born heirs that are actually his biological children.
Right.
Because I think it's, I don't know if it's now or later, but he presents a lot of options and she keeps shutting each of them down.
No, it's now. Where this is where he's like, okay, fine, but whatever. Like, maybe we could still like, you know, if we can't get married, like maybe we could still be together in some way. And she's like, you want me to be your mistress?
Which, like, I mean, fair. You're allowed to be like, no, I don't want to have to share you with anybody. I don't want to be a mistress. But then he's like, well, what if we adopted kids or something, right?
It was like, the adoption thing doesn't come up until like way later on.
Okay, got it.
But it is like, he is trying to basically like, when he first finds her again at like the Marley household, he's trying to grapple at anything because he's like, I can't lose you again. And she seems to be of a similar mind, but she like, and I get it because it's likely this internal struggle again between what she wants and what she feels like she can have with him. But I get frustrated because it's like, he is giving you all these various options and you're getting pissed at every single one of them. But yet you're having these jealous feelings when you see him with Miss Avon.
Child.
So it's like, you kind like, it seems like she wants like something with him. Like, she wants him to treat her special. But all of these options he's giving her, she doesn't want.
Yeah.
But she also doesn't want none of him. Like, it just feels like there's no winning in this situation.
Right.
And it's again, I'm sure this is like the result of her like not exactly knowing what she wants or knowing what she wants and feeling she can't have it. But it's frustrating at this point as a reader to like be doing all of this. And like, again, he keeps kind of continuing and like eventually is just like I want more than just being able to like call on the Marleys and you be there. Like, I want still like some sort of additional friendship. So he's just like, what if I, you know, go into the library late at night and if you like happen upon me, then it's fine, and like we can chat in like the night together in the library.
And that's the weird compromise they come up with. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, you shut down all these things, but maybe we could just see each other in the library at midnight.
I know.
I'm like,
And it's like,
okay,
wouldn't
sure.
that be the worst possible scenario for you guys to get caught in, of like late night together alone in the library?
Yeah, our fake a lady's companion for Miranda. Let's call her Rose, you know? She could have seen them in the library and been like, that is an inappropriate
Yeah,
relationship.
like, you're lucky I caught you and not someone else.
And not one, like the mistress of the house had caught you, you
Right,
know?
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
But no. So that's what they decide upon, and
Mhm.
she does eventually go to visit him in the library, and he's like in there reading a book, and like they talk about again his relationship with Miranda, who like, since their big blow up fight of like when he first introduced Viola as her chaperone, like they haven't mended things, but it hasn't been like contentious. It's just been very like civil, but that's almost weird as well, because he's like, that's my sister. And like, I feel like she hates me, and we can
That's my
barely talk
sister.
to
I
each
ignored her
other.
for 2 years and now she doesn't want to talk to me. That's like not our relationship though.
Yes. And like, so yeah, he's like, I'm like, she wants to read this book, Frankenstein, and I want to make sure it's appropriate for her, so I'm gonna read it. He's like, and I don't think it is, but like, I'm just desperate to like smooth things over with her, so I'm probably gonna like give it over to her anyway. And he opens up about basically how disappointed his father was to have a daughter.
Yeah.
So it's just like, he like, Miranda is born, and his like dad previous to this was so like, it's gonna be another son, it's gonna be another son, it's gonna be another son.
You were such a disappointment. I hope it's another son.
I need another son.
Yeah.
And then it's a daughter.
Mhm.
And he just wants absolutely nothing to do with her. And then like his mother dies during childbirth.
Yep.
So he
'Cause she was weak. No.
sorry. And she should have, because she didn't give him a boy. No.
Yeah, she didn't give him a son. Yeah.
But yeah, so it like comes out that it's like, I actually named Miranda because my mom was dead and my dad didn't give a okay, anyway, and he's like expressing that he's trying to like unlearn his father's teachings, and he hopes Miranda sees that.
Great.
How would she hope to see that when you have barely interacted with her or treated her like a person? Unclear, but that seems to be what he's trying to do. So they have this conversation, and now we're going on to Miranda's coming out ball. Miranda's coming out ball entails so many things. The first of which is Viola accusing Lady Lillimere for like thirsting after Miranda, which was like deeply like in my mind homophobic.
I think so too. You're gay, so you must want every young girl.
Yeah, and all it is like she makes some innocent comment about like, wow, Lady Miranda looks beautiful. That's it. It's like, okay, everyone else has also been saying this. Why are you getting aggravated at Lady Lillimere for saying this, other than the fact that she's attracted to women? Huh?
And I forget if Viola does check herself afterwards and is like, sorry, that was a weird assumption for me to make.
I don't think she apologizes. I think she does have a moment of like, ooh, that wasn't good. But I don't think she actually apologized.
No.
Oh, no, she does. She does, because
Okay.
then Lady Lillimere is just like, save it. I'm uninterested in apologies. They bore me.
Oh, right. Yeah, she has her like, like, ooh, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was so like weirdly gross for her to just assume that Lady Lillimere is into every woman that
Yeah,
passes by.
They dog on Lady Lillimere a lot of this book
It's
too.
weird,
It's like,
man.
okay.
And like later there's a moment, we'll get to it, but it's just like Lady Lillimere has to be like, I don't want every person that goes by.
Yes.
Jesus. It's like this trope that bisexuals have of like, you must want everyone. You must be
Everyone.
extraordinarily horny for everybody. And let me tell you, no. No.
Yeah, and then after that, we get an introduction to Duke Amberglass.
My favorite character.
So
My
Lady
favorite
Marley
character.
comes over, and she's like irritated about something, and they're like, what's going on? And she's just like, Duke Amberglass is here. And like Lady Lillimere is like, ooh. And Viola's like, I don't understand what's going on. Who is this? Whatever. And it just comes out that like Duke Amberglass is, he's a rake. And
Ooh, rake.
He's a rake. And he seems
If you don't know what a rake is, it's like the old boy. It's basically what that means.
So he's there, and he's like, yeah, he has a bad reputation in that way. It's also just like it like kind of hinted that he has some weird preferences in the bedroom as well.
Freak.
He's a little freak.
He loves a red room.
And he comes out that like him and Lady Marley actually have a bit of history together. And he's dancing currently with Miranda. So she's like very nervous of like, I don't want her to be with him, but I feel like if I say something, she's gonna like want him more.
Because young girls do that.
Yeah. Of like, once you tell them they can't have something, like she's gonna want it and whatever. And then they finish up. So like Viola's a little on edge. They finish up dancing though, and like he does the right thing of like escorting Miranda over back to Viola.
He quotes Shakespeare when they're leaving. I forget.
Shakespeare.
I believe it's from The Merchant of Venice. And then she quotes it back to him, and he's like,
yeah, Miranda,
because he got it wrong. He
Miranda
said the quote.
He
said the quote wrong, and then she quotes the rest of the quote back to him, and he's like,
Miranda comes back, and like basically she's like, oh, like something's going on. Like Lady Lilimere like snapped her fan or something. So like Miranda's like, oh, like what's
Lady Marley, right?
Oh yeah, not Lily. Yeah,
because Marley's the dramatic one.
Yes.
Lilimere is the one who's gay.
So Miranda's like, what's going on? And like Lady Lilimere right away is just like, she's afraid that you're gonna like Duke Amberglass, but like she doesn't want you to go be with him. And like,
Miranda's why would I go for somebody if you don't like them?
Yes, exactly that. And then like Lady Marley goes into like, because he has a way of like making women feel special in his presence and blah blah blah. And here we have our first introduction to Miranda's potential sexuality, and she just goes, and is that commonly experienced in the presence of gentlemen?
Just men, maybe?
Just men?
Just men? Are you sure about that? And they all clock that.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, anyway, but say nothing about it. Mm-hmm. They're like, okay, cool. Anyway, and then we have Gracewood coming by with Miss St. Clair and her brother, and basically just introducing of like, hey, like, you know, you've already met, but this is my sister, whatever. And like, this is the instance where we talk about like Miss Avon a little bit more, of like Miss St. Clair's like, I can't be seen socializing with Lady Miranda, like Miss Avon's not gonna like that. And Miranda's like, yeah, she doesn't like me, whatever, and I wonder what I did to rub her the wrong way. And that's when Lady Lilimere's like, you did nothing, you were just the sister of a duke, and like, you obviously like,
you're in a position of privilege and power. Other girls are going to see you as a threat. That's just the hierarchy of how things go.
Yeah.
Why don't Lady St. Clair, or, you know, whatever,
Miss St. Clair,
why don't you just go back and talk Miranda? But for now, you guys can just chit chat.
Yep. And then the ball wraps up. Everyone's kind of left. It's just Gracewood and Viola. And he, you know, is chatting with her, and he's just like, I really wish I could have danced with you tonight. But he's like, you know, obviously he's like, but like for him, it's like, my leg will not let me do that. And for her, it's like, that wouldn't have been appropriate because I'm a lady's companion and you are Duke.
Right.
But now no one's there. So they decide that they're gonna dance together.
Yeah.
And like, you know, she's like, he's like, I am gonna have to like lean on you. Like, I don't think we, whatever. And she's like, it's fine. Like, I can support your weight. Let's do this. Let's dance. And it's a nice little moment that they share amongst all of this. And Viola's very, very happy that they were able to, you know,
have romance. Yeah, I think that was a nice scene, especially with how annoyed I was getting with Gracewood. It like brought me back to being like, I get it.
Yes.
They're cute together.
Yeah, so they have this moment, and now we are fast forwarding to the next day. Viscount Sterling is talking with Gracewood and asking him for Miranda's hand in marriage. And Gracewood is just like, okay, did you ask Miranda how she feels about this?
No, because okay, sorry.
The hypocriticalness.
The author's like, wow, look how woke Gracewood is, because he wants Viscount Sterling to ask permission to his sister, you know, to be married or whatever. The whole time, though, he has been treating her like garbage.
Yes.
And she's not been asking her permission.
He's not doing this himself.
Yeah.
To her.
So, like, his soapbox moment, because, like, Viscount Sterling's just like, wait, I don't get it. Like, why do I have to ask your permission?
He keeps being like, oh, so do you not, like, approve? Like, do I not have your blessing then? And he's just like, no, I'm trying this new thing out where you, like, ask. He literally says, I'm trying this new thing out.
But he says it sarcastically. At least that was, like, the way I read it. Where he's like, I'm trying this new thing out called asking a woman. And I was like, why are you being a to this other man who just acted the way that you did? Yeah. Like, it should have been a mirror of like, oh, this is how I've been acting towards my sister. Yeah. This feels gross. Oh, shoot. Like, I really shouldn't. And then maybe he goes, actually, you don't need my blessing. What you need is my sister to say yes.
Yeah.
Like, it should have started with him acting patriarchal and then midway through being like, this whole thing feels kind of gross.
Right.
Never mind. But instead, he just is on his high horse.
Yeah.
But he's not
like,
very good at
how
riding.
How many times have you even hung out with my sister? And he's like, 5. he's like, but how many times, like, how much of interaction did you have? He's like, so you, like, 3 of those times was like you just saw her. So he's like, so courting her and talking with her was just you seeing her. And then again, he's just like, so do it. So I like, do I not ever bless her? Like, I'm eligible. I'm a Viscount. Like, I'd be a good match. I don't understand.
Why are you being so woke right now, bro?
And eventually, but the thing, I think the worst part of it is just eventually the Grace was like, yeah, whatever. Like, go for it, I guess.
He's sort of like tired of the conversation. He's like, I'm not gonna get through to this guy. I don't know. Yeah, go for it. Whatever.
Yeah. So, and he's just like, oh, maybe I should like give Miranda a heads up about this. But like, maybe she would actually hate that. Maybe she would actually be like, yeah, of course I know he's gonna like go after me. And it's like, talk to your sister one time. Try it one time.
You know who did it better? Anthony Bridgerton.
Yes.
Anthony Bridgerton did it so much better.
Yes. And so Gracewood is watching the Viscount leave, and he sees that he meets up with Duke Amberglass, and he's kind of like, like, I feel a type of way about Duke Amberglass. This is where Beatrice comes in, who has been like a friend of Gracewood's, and she has like said bad things about Duke Amberglass, and he's just like, I know Beatrice, I trust her word for this.
Random character.
Yeah. It couldn't have been Lady Marley, of course.
No, of course. It couldn't be another woman that he doesn't really respect. It's gotta be
some random character we never meet.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, because it could have been Viola being like, oh, Lady Marley doesn't like Duke Amberglass or anything. Right. And he's like, well, I trust Marley, so I should listen to her.
Right.
Nothing.
And it's also just like, he has this moment of like, I don't trust Duke Amberglass, but it's fine because he doesn't seem interested in Miranda and Miranda doesn't seem interested in him. There's like no concern about the fact that Viscount Sterling is friends with him. Like, wouldn't you be concerned that like the guy that's like trying to court your sister is asking literally if he can ask for her hand in marriage? He's friends with this guy that supposedly sucks. Yeah. So like, isn't that concerning to you? No, nope, not at all. Yeah. Not at all. Okay. Anyway, we're going to Vauxhall now.
Love Vauxhall.
Gracewood has told Miranda that he'll take her here. So ends up being like a pretty decent sized group where it's Gracewood, it's Viola, it's Lady Marley, it's Lady Lillimere, and then it's Miranda's little like posse of friends of like Miss Avon, Mrs. St. Clair, and Miss Hanbury. So they're all on their way to Vauxhall. And I don't know, there's some waterfall thing happening, and like Miranda's like, I think maybe it's this, and this is how it's happening. And Viscount Sterling's like, oh, you silly woman, that's not what's going on. And then like Miss St. Clair's kind of egging him on. He's like, then how does it really work? Tell us how it works.
You explain it, dude. And he's embarrassed because he doesn't know how it works.
He tries his best to like explain it, and then they're all like, yeah, okay, clearly that's not what's happening. And then Miranda like, I don't know. We have this moment of like, he sucks actually, and Miranda's so smart. Yeah, I guess. And like,
she's just a learned woman.
Yeah. I mean, she was alone with all those books all those years, so magic tricks weren't the only thing she learned.
But basically what we're getting at is like, this guy is insecure in his masculinity.
Yes, yeah. Obviously. And during all of this, whatever, like this happens, and as Gracewood is watching it, he sees that Miss Avon sort of presses a letter into Miranda's hand. Like they kind of, grab hands. He sees this, he clocks it, and he brings it up to Viola. And Viola's just like, yeah, I knew about it. It's just something, kids do.
Girls pass notes to each other. You and I used to pass notes to each other.
Right. And he's just like, well, who do you think it's coming from? And she's like, probably a suitor. And he's like very alarmed by this because he's like, that doesn't feel right or appropriate, or like, we don't know what they're saying in these letters. It could be bad. And she's very like, let's just brush it off. It's fine. And I feel like, again, this is supposed to be like, well, she was always just like a little rebel, and like, she always did all these crazy things.
Oh, yeah, Viola. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, she's so cautious, except for in these random moments where I'm like, okay, I guess. Right. I guess that's your characterization.
She gets like protective and weird when Lady Lillimere's like, wow, Miranda looks beautiful. But she sees these notes being passed, and she's like, that's fine.
Yeah, it's probably okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she goes to like catch up with Lady Miranda, and as she does this, because they've kind of like wandered away, as she does this, fireworks start to go off.
Oh, right.
In the garden. And it like launches Gracewood into having like a very, very bad like PTSD episode, because he hears the fireworks and immediately he's like, gunshots, I'm back in the war. He's having a very, very obvious physical reaction to it, where he's like kind of like hyperventilating, getting sweaty, like obviously looking like sick. And luckily Viola clocks this and like runs back to him and is just trying to like make a show of her being like, oh, can you like help me, prop me up, like the fireworks are really scaring me, like whatever, like trying to
She's
make
being
like,
sweet about it. She's like, it's
yes,
me. That's the problem. Let's both leave now.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And then she kind of pulls him aside into the bushes, and it's like, again, like she does have a line of like, and no one blinked at this because people are going in the bushes all the time to like walk around. But it's like, okay, why is it okay in this one instance though?
Mhm.
Like, and it's not any other instance.
It should have just been her being like, I know how this is gonna play out, like how it's gonna look, but I don't care in this moment.
Yeah, or like it would be 10 times worse for the alternative to happen, so I'm willing to take this risk.
Exactly. But instead it's like, actually, the
It's
thing that I was worried about
fine.
doesn't actually matter.
Yeah,
So whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, they get pulled off into the bushes. He's like gets physically ill, like he's
Mhm.
obviously having a bad time. And as he starts to like calm down, they talk about like how each of them were impacted by the war. Where it's like
This is a nice scene.
yeah, he's very much so like, I feel like insane. I feel like a madman, and I feel like everyone sees that in me, and I feel really embarrassed that you've seen it. And she's just like, no, like you're not. And he's like, well, you were there too, and you're not reacting in this way, so how am I not?
Yeah.
And she has almost an opposite thing of like, I worry about how you're viewing me because like don't have an emotional reaction to like what we've done, and like does that make me cruel and like cold-hearted? And it's like this nice moment of like recognizing that they have both been impacted by the war in very different ways. But like neither one of them is being like, well, the reaction you're having is wrong.
And I think like you had pointed this out, but the disability rep in this book is actually quite good.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like PTSD and this like difficulty with his leg, and it's just there as a set dressing. Like,
yes,
it actually does inform a lot about how he interacts with the world.
Absolutely.
Sometimes negatively, like when you're bullying a child, or sometimes like really beautifully when you're having this moment and you have your love interest there to support and understand and love you.
Absolutely.
Then it comes up often. Like, it's not just like a one-off.
Yeah.
I need this now to have a scene. It's like, no, this is part of his character. This is who he is.
Even when it's inconvenient.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
So they have this chat. He's calmed down. So they've started to like sort of come out of the bushes, and they get caught by Duke Amberglass. And he,
I love him. I love him.
He
Alexis Hall, if you're watching this, make it part 2.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we will.
We'll talk about that. So he catches them coming out of the bushes, and he's like immediately like, and kind of is just like very subtly making it known, like she's still committing to the bit of like, it was me that got,
yeah,
whatever.
I was having trouble.
Having trouble. That's why we went over there, and he. Like, I can't remember the exact comment he makes, but the way that he insinuates that he knows it's not her.
Yeah.
He knows that it's Grace Wood, but she's just like, we're going to ignore it. We're not going to acknowledge it. We're going to keep on going. And they move off. And they get back to Grace Wood's home. And like, she helps him to his room. And he just sort of like starts unconsciously, I guess, like
undressing,
getting ready for bed. Like he's like cleaning his face up and like undoing his cravat, and she's just like there, like,
I'm still in the room.
And then he like has this moment of like, oh yeah, like sorry. And then she just decides, you know what? Let's boink.
Yeah, I wish we were a little bit more privy to the
what changed. What changed? What changed?
It's not like, oh, his vulnerability with me suddenly made me realize how much I want to be with him. Or like we had talked about, it's not her in that moment deciding, actually, I don't care what people think of me as long as I get to protect and care for this person.
She has been so adamant about not being his mistress. And then all of a sudden she's just okay with it. And we get absolutely no view into her internal thought process of what has changed for her.
No.
And this is where I think it would have been so cool for there to be more conflict, but for him to be the one that is like upset.
Yes.
Because he has so much insecurity about like being viewed as weak and pitiable. And in his mind, he could have been like, well, like, I really want to make sure that this is what you want. Like, what changed? And when she can't speak to that, he could get upset of like, you saw me in this horrible, vulnerable moment.
Yes.
Nothing changed for you. You're just trying to have sex with me to like make me feel better. And that is not how I want to start this relationship with you.
Right. I've been so vulnerable with you, and to only find out that like you pity me.
Yeah.
And then maybe that forces her to be like, no, dude, it's because whatever it might be. That's incredible. And I would have loved that alternative.
Yes.
Because yeah, it's just her suddenly being like, dude, he's so hot with the shirt off. And you know what? Because it's this empowerment moment for her. We have a monologue from her basically being like, this is my choice and I made it. And that's why it is a good choice that I have made because
Yes.
I made that choice myself.
Yeah.
And you're like, that wasn't the conflict.
Yes.
The conflict wasn't that you don't get to make your own choices.
Yeah. And I just, yeah,
What?
this, like, again, it's just like, it has been constantly Gracewood chasing after her. It
Mhm.
would be really nice to have just a singular moment where Viola has to chase after him a little bit.
Yeah, court him.
Yeah.
Like,
give me an inkling of anyone else's internal world outside of Viola and her struggles.
But it's quite jarring. And like the scene later on is very lovely and very beautiful, but like how we got there was really quick. Really quick.
Yeah. So they have like a little bit of a back and forth, and he basically is like, "You're sure you want this? Like, I can't hold back much longer. Please tell me what you want."
Which I gotta say, I do like it when they say stuff like that.
Yeah.
I usually have such a problem with the way sex scenes are written because they can be so cringe.
Yeah.
But I don't mind when someone's like, I cannot hold back. Like if we're doing this, then we're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I know some people really hate because it's like the implication of withdrawing consent.
Yeah.
But in moments like this, it's like, I'm trying to show you passion.
Yeah.
I'm trying to show you. Like I know in that moment, if one character was like, we're done, they would call it off. It's like this is just the, embodiment of like, I just deeply want you.
Exactly. And she's like, I do want this. And she kind of starts to like strip down, and she has her like monologue about like, I don't want to let anyone like tell me what I can and can't do. I've wanted this. I'm going to take it for myself and blah, blah, blah. And I just like, I feel bad because like I should feel good for her in this moment. But the monologue was just so
incongruent.
Cringy.
Oh, okay.
Like to me, like cringe, because this book is written so beautifully, and it's like this scene though, like the way that it was written, the way it was gone about, it gave very much so YN vibes of like everyone fighting, stop, this isn't the right thing to do. Like that is kind of the vibe I got from her monologue, and it's like I want you to feel this way. I want you to feel like you can take this choice for yourself, but the way that you're talking about it just makes me go like,
huh?
Okay.
Because she's having the monologue at the wrong person.
Yeah.
Like I was saying before, this is not what the conflict is.
No.
The reason that they weren't having sex before is not because he's trying to force her into a choice or force her into a box.
Right.
And maybe that's what the author was trying to do. But it almost seems like the author, like they wanted to have a big moment where Viola like gets to shout very loudly, I'm proud of myself and I get to live the life I want to live.
Yeah.
But she's saying that at a guy who went, yeah, dude, I've always liked you and I'm very proud of you. And I wanted you to just keep living the way that
I already know this
about you. So it just feels really like, what?
Yeah, it feels hollow.
It feels hollow. Like it'd be one thing too if she is very explicit about, because again, the author doesn't want to make transness the core part of the story.
Yeah.
So her then being like, well, I get to be who I want to be and I get to have my own identity is very strange when that was never really part of this conflict anyways.
Also just like unrealistic for people to do. Like this book has been so nuanced in so much of its conflict and dialogue, and then all of a sudden it's just like, let me monologue about this really quick. And it's like, where did this come from? This feels like a caricature of a person, not a person.
Yeah. How often do we stop sex to just say, and now I'm gonna
take your clothes off, and you're like, I'm making this choice. I'm doing this for me.
And the rest of the scene, great and fun. But this one moment, I was like, huh?
And I think it makes it worse because like almost directly after this, we have like Gracewood like basically professing his love for her, and it's so beautiful.
Yes.
He's like, I have known you as a friend, I have loved you as a friend, and now I love you as a woman. And like it's just like very like, I don't know, like very like devout to her in this, and it's just like, what the hell happened? What the hell happened?
Wait, where are we getting all this from? And then it gets steamy.
Then it gets steamy.
Steamy, baby.
Yeah. And again, like you had said, like I feel like people writing a sex scene is so often done poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Either it's cringe or it's just like it's done so fast that it doesn't feel like, it's just like they're immediately there's like no foreplay, there's no lead up to that.
Right.
Whereas like this one is like it's very like there's a lead up. There's like it's not immediately into it. And it's like a lot of like them figuring out what they like or like kind of like help, because like Viola's never had a sexual experience.
Oh my God. Yeah.
At all.
You have to talk about the fact that like Viola has been taken to brothels by Gracewood when they were buddies.
Yes.
And she always felt very uncomfortable. Like there were moments where other people who, you know, like who are working there came on to her and she was like, I'm actually
Yeah.
good. No, I'm not really into women. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
So she's never had sex before.
Never.
And I do like that this first part is just them kind of figuring out because she's like, well, you can get into it.
Oh no, yeah, it's just like he starts, you know, doing certain things where he's like kissing her and he's just like, it seems like you like this. Is that true? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, you seem to kind of tense up when I go over here. Do you like that less? And she's like, yeah, I don't like that. Like it's
Thank you for noticing that about.
But it's not done in a way that feels performative either, or like strange that this is happening. Which
he's curious, he's aroused. Like it feels really natural.
Like things are still happening, and there's like it's still like very passionate in the way this is happening, and less like it's sometimes when this happens, it feels so like clinical, like a doctor going about and being like, how does this feel? How does this feel?
Or so assumptive. Like I feel like a lot of straight authors especially feel like if they talk about the acts that are being done, it takes away from the fantasy of it for some reason.
Yeah.
So they never say like, he did X, Y, and Z, and they had a conversation about that. It's like, he just knew that she would love this. And so he like went and he did it. He stuck his dinger in her and she was just screaming. You go,
yeah.
What?
There's also just like, I think on like his end too, of just like, he'll like correct her in ways of like, I think her like fingers were in him at one point and he's like, crooked them or whatever. Them. And it was just like, you know, it again, I feel like a lot of times in books, it's like they never do that because it can't be like they don't know what they're doing or like whatever. And it's like
they're perfect from the moment they start having sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never had sex before and I've had 70 orgasms in one night. Like that is like what it is.
Yes.
Without having any explanation. But I do like that, like, he's kind of coaching her through it.
Yes.
And that he's a bottom.
Yeah.
Baby.
And he's picking up on it too.
Yeah.
Like she's picking up on like what he likes of like, oh, he did this certain thing with my fingers. So I'll try to hit this specific angle, like when I'm inside of him, and like whatever. And it's like, yeah, we're learning and it's really fun and steamy.
It's a good example of how you can have those kind of like conversations without it taking away from the romance of it.
Yeah. The cohesion of the sex scene was beautiful. Beautiful.
We find out that like he has had like
he's had it up the butt.
I was trying to find like a nicer way of saying that. But he's been like, like I get around. But he's not bi. It was, you know, like he's still like
a woman
with a strap on. Yeah, exactly. A woman pegged him and he's still like, because she does ask, she's like, does that mean then you're like, are you
like, oh, you've done this before?
Yeah.
How did that come about? Like, and with who?
And with who? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, I'm straight. I am attracted to women. I just don't mind like this as being part of our sex life. Like that does not change how I feel about you.
Yeah. And I think it was like a moment of affirmation for Viola as well, of him like being like, she didn't feel, I'm assuming she didn't feel any less a woman, and I certainly didn't feel like any less a man during this happening. So like the same can be true for us.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, really great sex scene.
I also like that Viola asks for what she wants. Like there, you know, and any other thing, there's the assumption like, well, Viola would be the bottom and he'd be top because man, woman. But she's like, can I actually be the one? He's like, you know what, fine. Like, I think he's like, anything you do to me would be awesome.
Yeah. We've seen him be a simp the entire time, but he's really like, whatever you want, babe.
Please just touch me. I don't care.
I'm sorry.
It's nice. It's very lovely. Yeah, it's very lovely.
That's honestly what I want in a sex theme, though. Like, I want you to be absolutely obsessed with her, and he was.
Oh god, it was a very affirming scene.
Yeah,
it felt like, at least for Viola.
Absolutely. So they'd have that. She gets up, leaves his bedroom. She kind of is taking in the fact that like, I guess I'm his mistress now, and like, you know, as much as I would love to hang around further in the morning and like wake up with him, like it wouldn't be appropriate. I'm heading out.
Also, if I keep looking over, my dog is sleeping on a dog bed over there. So that's what I'm staring at. He's really cute.
Masquerade ball. We're almost there. So,
oh my God.
Lady Marley takes Miranda to this masquerade ball. Once again, not to just keep harping on this, but why wasn't
Viola the one going?
Anyway, they decide to go to this masquerade ball. Miranda is indeed dressed as Frankenstein's monster to this ball. Once again, just being like, I don't care what the rules are. I'm gonna do whatever I want. She paints herself green. She fully paints herself
lead
green.
paint, I'm sure. You know what I mean?
Like, it's all making sense now.
Oh yeah, full lead paint. She's inhaling those fumes. She's also sorry. I shouldn't say that. But you know what I mean. It's just no one in her life wants to, because you're allowed to be like, she's a colorful character. She's got a vibrant personality, and we don't want to stifle that. But at the same time, you are in high society with a set of rules.
Come on.
You are setting her up for failure. Not even in just like a, well, she's allowed to be who she is way. It's like somebody is gonna screw this girl over because you
You can tell.
decided.
And she's so blatantly naive. Look at
Mhm.
her every single turn. Anyway,
We haven't even gotten into the ridiculous stuff she said. We would be here forever. We'd be here till the day it ends.
seriously.
But yeah, she dresses as Frankenstein.
So they're off to this ball. and-
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
Bruh.
Frankenstein. Frankenstein's monster.
I'm just imagining like Katie Heron from Mean Girls and like that insane look, and everyone's like, "The fuck are you wearing?
Yeah. Huh?
Huh?" Also, we're about to get into it. Why would no? You do your thing. You go first. You go first.
So they're off. Viola's like, Gracewood, we're alone. And he's like,
Why is she in that house?
She's been staying at that house.
Because she's the lady's companion, right?
Because she's Miranda's chaperone.
Right, exactly. So she's Miranda's chaperone. Miranda's not there in that house. How is she still in that house?
I don't know.
That does not make sense to
I
me.
don't know.
If we're gonna follow the rules of society.
I don't know, because Gracewood wants her there. No one's gonna question him. That's just I had to just fill in the blanks.
Fine.
But like, she's like, we're alone. We could be doing
This
things.
is kind of cute.
And he's just like totally like over his head every single time. She's like, I'm your mistress now. And he's like, oh yeah, we gotta get you like an allowance. We gotta get things set up.
Oh, I've been so rude. Yeah.
And she's like, I wanna fuck. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
They start to get into it. He's like, no, this is my dad's desk. And she goes, you're the
It's
Duke
your
now.
desk.
It's your desk. We're gonna defile it. And then like right before I can get into it, Lady Marley is running in, like blatantly frazzled. So Lady Marley is running. She's like, Miranda's gone. They're very much so like, are you sure? There's so many people there. It'd be so easy to lose track of her. And that's when she's like, she's green. She's dressed as Frankenstein's monster. How could I have lost her? Like how could I have lost her in a crowd? Like I had a meeting spot. She wasn't there. I can't find her. She's gone. Like just believe me. And she's just like,
and Justin's like, what? She was dressed as what? They're like, that's not important.
Not important right now. And so they right away are trying to like get into this like problem solving mode of like, do you have any enemies? Like who would have wanted to like potentially take her? And he's like, no. And then they're like, the notes. And this is like the one and only time outside of his like big confrontation with Viola at the beach that he actually gets mad at her. And he's just like, you assured me that those were like innocent.
Yeah.
And what, but it's so brief. It's just like, yeah, I'm pissed. Let's go find the letters. So they find the letters. And they're signed by Lady Lilimere.
They're love notes.
Yes, and they're like explicit love notes. So they right away are like, okay, we gotta go find Lady Lilimere. And then in walks Lady Lilimere, who's like, I've been asking around the party. I was asking if they saw anyone green and whatever. And then they're like, explain these. Like right away,
you predator.
Everyone is just like, you did this. We have the letters. And like, what? Where the hell is she?
You took her. You lesbian predator. How dare you?
And then right away, she's just like, that's not my handwriting.
Also, if I took her, how am I here?
Yeah. Like if I
Explain
took her,
this
don't you think I would be still with her?
Yeah.
Like in this moment? And Lady Marley's like, yeah, I did think it was weird that it wasn't your handwriting. What the are we talking about?
Like, how cruel is that? Your friend that you've known for so long, whose handwriting you can differentiate.
Yeah.
Your first assumption is
obviously hang out with a lot too, because she's been present throughout like almost every single event that they've gone to.
Yes.
So it's like
that is just so mean. And like Justin too, immediately being like, you took my sister. And I don't like it, but I get him just immediately accusing anybody because he's looking for her.
But once again,
Lady Marley shouldn't have been like that. Lilimere takes this like such a champ as like, you guys are stupid.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got this information.
Yep. Yeah. So so then they're like, okay, well, it's not Lady Lilimere. Let's call on Miss Avon because she was the one passing the letters.
Yeah.
So
I think somebody had mentioned like, oh, we saw her get into a carriage, but we don't know whose carriage it was or what.
Lady Lilimere had said like, yeah, they had maybe seen her around the carriages, but like nothing has really been confirmed as of yet. But she definitely is missing.
Yeah.
No, and there's no question about that. And so they bring Miss Avon in, and right away Gracewood's grilling her about like, who was giving you these? What is happening? Blah, blah, blah. And at first she's trying to like deny. And eventually she ends up breaking down as just like, it was Duke Amberglass. Like, I didn't think that this is what was going to happen. Like, he told me it was just going to be like, she goes to the carriage and like, you know, maybe her reputation would be dented like a little bit of like, she was alone for like,
but she'd be fine.
But she'd be fine because she's the sister of a Duke, and it would be better for me to get more potential prospects with
Yeah.
this happening to her reputation. Like, it was supposed to be, you know, like, not innocent per se, but not kidnapping.
Right. She wasn't like, I wanted her to lose her honor, you know, what I'm implying, and therefore she would never be able to be in society again. She's just like, well, I thought it would just be a cute, not cute, but like a funny prank,
right,
that would help
That
me
would
in the long
benefit
run.
me,
It was a
yes.
promise of just they would do a little look around the block and that would be it.
Yeah.
And your sister would be fine.
Yeah. And
she would have been.
Yeah. And so we begin our hunt for Duke Amberglass. They like check a bunch of check his house, check his usual haunts. He's nowhere. They're getting more desperate. Viola has come with Gracewood.
Yeah.
He is like, whatever. Like, I'm not even gonna fight this. I want you there. So like, let's just do it. Like,
his stamina's going down as with each new place they go to as well.
Absolutely.
Which again, like the disability rep makes sense. Like he is getting exhausted and tired and isn't able to keep up.
He needs someone else there. Yeah. And why shouldn't it be Viola?
Yeah.
But anyway, so like they've gone to all these different places. He's just not turning up. So eventually Gracewood is just like, okay, there's one more place that I think he might be. And like, but you can't come with me. And she's like, shut up. Like he's like, it's this brothel. And she's like, you brought me to brothels before.
Yeah, come on.
And so he's like, don't remind me of that, but whatever. So they end up going to this brothel. They get in the Elysium suite.
We love Amberglass. Everybody, when we read this book together, loved Amberglass.
So ridiculous.
He is incredible. He's like, I do think he's the perfect villain. He's like a Disney villain.
Yes.
And I think the author also really loved him.
Yeah. He literally in the back of the book as well, it was like, is it obvious that Duke Amberglass was sequel bait? And I went, what the are you talking about? Because like this man shows up 3 times throughout the novel.
Hell yeah.
They get into this suite and it's just like people are in the bed. He's getting his dick sucked. And he's just like, hey, what's going on?
Oh, hey, you guys found me.
Like bored. Like
it's
bored.
So funny because it's like depravity, you know, it's sex around him. Hedonism, thank you, around him. And he's just like, hey, you guys made it.
Yeah.
You guys showed up.
He's like drunk. Yeah. But whatever. But it's just like, he's just so unbothered by them showing up. And it's just like, yeah, whatever. Hey, what's up? What's going on? And you want to get in on this?
Well, like, because at one point he's like talking to them and the person who's sucking his dick takes a pause and he's like, I didn't tell you to stop that. And you two keep at it.
Yeah.
Like, come on. He's having a full villain monologue while his danger is getting slurped down on hard.
Mentioned too, like, yeah, and he was like half flaccid, if even that. Like he wasn't even like aroused during any of this.
It's just the most comical way to have like a confrontation. Because also the whole time he's like bored.
I know.
He's bored.
I know.
He's half hard. Yeah. It's barely anything.
He's just like, and like, so it's like, where's my sister? Where's my sister? He's like, do you see her? Do you see her in this room? I don't know where she is. Like, just keeps insisting, I don't know where she is. I don't know where she is. And it's like, I do know where she is. Suck my dick and I'll tell you. Like, invites Gracewood to suck his.
He's an equal opportunity offender, which is really nice. Because, like, you would assume a mustache twirling bad guy would go, the woman in the room, why don't you suck my dick? He's like, not you, Gracewood.
Hey,
get over here. Like, pushes the person out of the way. They're like, get over here.
Get off of me. You get over here.
It just, like, sadly thumps.
It's just like, Gracewood's like, no. And then he turns to Viola. He's like, you want to suck my like just literally like leaving it to the room. Anyone? And like
and yeah, again, these people are like, they're pausing and he's like, no, come on, I'm paying you by the hour. Like, keep going.
Let's go. And Gracewood is just like, okay, so like obviously I'm not doing that.
I'm not gonna suck your
but like why, like what did Miranda ever do to you? And
his reason is so good.
He's just like, I don't like her. I just don't like her.
He was like, I don't like her taste in Shakespeare.
He's like,
and I don't like you.
Yeah, he's like, maybe it's because I don't enjoy the taste in Shakespeare. Maybe it's because I don't like you. Well, like I'm just having fun.
I'm
like,
just the kooky guy.
I'm the villain. Everyone thinks I'm the villain, so I'm being the villain, kind of thing.
And he does have these moments where it's like, well, everyone thinks I'm going to be the bad guy, so I might as well be the bad guy. But remember, this whole time. Oh god!
Yeah. He pulls a gun out from where? I don't know, because he's got no pants on. He's like waving it around, and then like Duke Gracewood like runs over there and like grabs the gun from him, and he's like angry. He's like, "Where's my sister?" And he's like, "Ha ha, do
Shoot
it."
me. Because he's Yeah, he's got his gun pointed at Duke Amberglass and Amberglass again. Oh, do it. Shoot me.
Yeah, go for it.
I love this man.
Whatever. And then like
Crazy.
Gracewood starts to break, obviously, because like we've seen, he is like has obviously huge remorse after having killed people. He is not like, he doesn't want to do this.
Yeah.
And then he goes over and he takes the gun from Gracewood and then just starts beating like with his own cane. He like throws him to the ground, hits him with his cane, spits on him.
It's like insane the level.
I hate to keep bringing it up, but it's like he's got no pants on still. Out. This is all happening. He's like beating on Gracewood.
It's just what an insane thing to be like, all right, let's go.
And then Viola eventually, so it was revealed earlier that like Gracewood's cane had like, you could like pull, like there's like a sword.
Yeah.
It's like if you pull on like the hilt of the cane, it's like the sword. So Viola is like going over there trying to grab it. And that's when everybody's like, you think I won't hit a woman? Boom! These hands are rated E for everyone. Here I go. And then like they start sword fighting, I guess. And then like it stops because Gracewood's like, hey, we're just gonna get out of here.
Enough.
Yeah.
I'm tired of let's go.
Yeah, let's leave.
And Amberglass's reaction is so they're like, we're not getting anything out of you. We're gonna leave. And he's like, wait, no, don't go. I thought we were having fun. I thought we were just friends here.
They're on their way for this rescue mission, and it doesn't even matter because Miranda has broken out herself and is like, they basically like they're riding up one way and then they see a horse coming towards them and it's Miranda on the horse.
And they're like, oh.
They're like, and then finally though, like her and Gracewood, I guess, had to get to interact like normal human beings for the first time in this entire book.
She's like, oh, you cared about me? You like wanted to come find me? And he goes, of course I did. You're my sister. Like, that's crazy that you would think that I wouldn't love you. And it's like this whole time you have shown her nothing but cruelty or indifference.
Yes. So they have this moment together, and then she's like, by the way, tee-hee, I might have killed if I could.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I smashed a vase over his head and like ran out of there.
Did you check the body? And she's like, I don't know.
So they do end up going to this estate and like rolling up, and he finds Viscount Sterling. He's alive. He's definitely battered and whatever, but he's alive. And he's basically like, okay, so this is how this is gonna go.
Yeah.
Like, you had me, my sister, and her chaperone over for a completely like appropriate visit because you are our family's friends. And we stayed here at this estate for the weekend and had a lovely time. And that is the end of that. And whatever. That seems to wrap that up. They go to bed. And then hours later, Viola hears think, think, think. Someone's throwing rocks at her window. And
this bothered me, but we'll get into it in a second.
And Gracewood's outside her window like, come on, come here. So she goes out and they're like walking through like the rose gardens of this estate. And he's like, tell me what you see, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, a beautiful rose garden that maybe needs like a little bit of pruning, but it's great and whatever. And he's just like, I bought this estate.
You bought the estate that your sister got kidnapped
in?
Yes. And you went this.
Yeah, and he's just like, I bought this for us. And because he's like, Morganclad doesn't suit me. London doesn't suit us. But here, we could be comfortably together, and like away from town, in the countryside, in a place that's like not London or Morganclad.
The disrespect, too, of like how little they give Miranda.
That they're like, yeah, this place that you were held captive, we're buying it. It's
so now whenever you come to visit us, you'll have a fun memory of the time you were chloroformed and brought here and you thought you had killed a man.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, so he does all this and he's just like, I want to marry you. And she once again is like, what about heirs? And he's just like, there are plenty of children in London that need mothers and fathers. Like, and we don't have to have our own children, which it is like kind of frustrating. It's like, why was this not brought up earlier as a point? So he does all this, and of course Viola is just like, hemming
and hawing.
Yeah, and it's just like, again, it's like her hesitation feels so unfounded at this point. It's like, you're already his mistress. You've already done all this like throughout the entire book. Like, I wish this could have just been a moment of her being like, I've had all these anxieties, and a lot of it I've placed blame on society, and it does partially come from there.
Yeah.
But it also comes from the fact that I feel like I don't deserve this.
And then we have our monologue.
Yes.
Of just like, actually, I do deserve this, and I get to make this choice for my life, and I want to be with you.
Yeah. But no, that doesn't happen. But she does, in fact, accept his proposal.
She's like, okay, cool. You bought me a house.
Yeah.
She doesn't say it like that. She's not that vapid, but I'm that vapid. But yeah, she's like, actually, you know what? I want to be with you too. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said before, like the actual meat of the story, the romance between the two of them was really, really lovely. And like anytime we talked about those scenes, we both were like, this was awesome. This scene was great.
Yep.
Anytime they had to interact with other people, there was so much like misogyny and homophobia and frustration in all of it that I felt like was such a miss. And it really felt like it was surrounding Miranda's story, which is why I was like, I could do without her.
Right. And it's like, just make it a series at this point.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't know. Overall, did enjoy the book.
Yeah. I had a fun time with it. I really did.
Yeah. I love a Regency read, so this was great.
Too.
A little twist.
Ooh, fun. And I am such a sucker for. Sorry. I'm such a sucker for like propriety and rules because I feel like that's where a lot of the tension comes from of like, well, we're not supposed to.
We mustn't. We dothn't.
A duke and a lady's companion in a room together. Like that's where that like fun sort of stuff comes from. And so I love a Regency era. We didn't get too much of that in this, but still, you know, that's okay. A grand old time. But yeah, so if you loved this episode, which I hope you did, you can expect more of us talking about books like this in the future. Our next book club pick for October is going to be Bride by Ali Hazelwood.
Yeah.
So if you want to get a head start, go get that book now from your local library or from like a secondhand store. It would be wonderful. And join us as we read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. You can follow along through our Discord, which you can find via our Patreon. Again, like we said, it's completely free. Yes. You just have to be a member of the Patreon, as in like a free member. So yeah, on Discord, we talk a lot about, we have a forum discussing like our current book. So this month it's going to be Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Mm-hmm. And we also have like fun little channels where we talk about the music that we think characters would like. Yeah. I 100% thought that Viola would be so obsessed with Diet Pepsi by Addison Rae. I thought that would be fun. Perfect. But yeah, we're also on Instagram, TikTok. You can follow us there. We post a lot about what we're currently reading or some fun behind the scenes content. Yeah. We are on, you can also watch us on YouTube if you're listening to this on Spotify, or if you're in a car and you don't want to watch us, you can listen to this on Spotify if you usually watch on YouTube. Yeah. So those are our streaming platforms. Our next episode is September 16th. We're going to be doing a review of The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. So if you enjoyed like Spirited Away, that's a great one. Now that one, you don't have to read along with us. That's just a review. So if you've already read the book, wonderful. If you haven't and you are fine with spoilers, wonderful. And if you have it and you don't like spoilers, come back to this episode after you've read it. Yeah. But I think that's where you can find us. I think that's all for now.
Yeah, I would say our name is, I think, the same thing on like all of our different social platforms. But if you want an easy way to find us, you can go to our Instagram. There's a link tree and it links out to like all the various places that we're at. So
yeah, Open Hearts Book Club.
You can find us everywhere. Awesome. Well, we'll see you September 16th for that additional episode where we talk about A Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O.
But awesome. Yeah.
See ya.